I have like 5 lamps in every room, and whenever I go in a room, I have to like walk over the perimeter and just turn them all on.
Yeah, that's.
And it's always like pretty dark in my house. But I like it.
5 lamps on.
All right. Well, we're on. I think our show's on now.
Yeah, because I also use low wattage light bulbs.
Why is that?
Nothing above a 40.
Oh, I wanted to put we never
it's
talked
a
about
show.
this, and I wanted to put it on.
Oh, our beef.
When, not to blow up Vasily Angugli's spot, but
But
I thought so. A couple weeks ago, or months maybe even, somebody on Facebook said this thing about our show about he thought he knew everything when he was 25-year-old with a literature degree. And
We're gonna fact check this.
Oh, the age is actually, we haven't talked about the age part.
That was the most flattering part, where he aged everyone down by a minimum of 5 years.
No, that's only flattering in an ageist society.
I guess so.
Right.
that's a very salient point.
That's true. I mean,
Thank you.
and
That
he is saying 25-year-olds is a pejorative.
Yeah,
so.
I didn't like being 25.
But either way, I
love
follow
being 25.
what you mean.
I had a good 25.
Yeah, 25 was okay for me.
Well,
It's very easy to be ageist when you're in the television.
since a lot of kids watch the show, I thought like it would suck if some of them were like, I'll never go to college and I'll never be able to talk about science fiction like this. So maybe if we did explain our how varied and sketchy some of our backgrounds.
In some cases, really.
We didn't discuss this. I don't think we didn't discuss this.
I think the most important thing that I would like to refute sentiment-wise in that tweet is that I feel like the thing about that guy is he was like, I skipped to like half an hour in and I watched 1 minute of it.
Right.
And the thing that he could not understand because he didn't actually watch or listen to anything that we say, and he was just like jumping on some dumb internet bandwagon, is that our whole, in my mind, as a group, if we were gonna have like a thesis about what we're like trying to get to in doing the thing that we're doing right now, a big part of that thesis has to do with there not being any correct translation or interpretation of any text that's good, and very much including these texts, and that we're trying to like fight against definitional tyranny and for freedom of ideas, and that there's like a million interpretations.
And you don't have to have a literature degree to do that.
Because all the people
Don't even have to finish college.
Because there are those who are predominant Wolf scholars who would like to say that there's one correct interpretation, and I think that misses the whole point of doing anything like
I think that it's funny that
That's my
predominant
main- that
Wolf
would be my
scholars still
main-
like don't have jobs as like teachers or anything.
That's the main.
Oh, really?
That's the main thing.
What does he do?
I saw something where he's like,
fact?
I'd like to be teaching again someday.
He might
maybe
be like an adjunct or something.
I think that he tried teaching for a little while and it didn't pan out.
I mean,
Probably for obvious
I'm not saying nothing
reasons.
about nobody's employment.
That's the main thing
No, I was just wondering if he was like a personal trainer or something. That would just be funny to me.
That's
Yeah,
the
the
main thing I want to push back
preeminent
on,
Wolf
though.
scholar slash personal
Conceptually.
trainer.
Well,
Conceptually, that's the main thing I want
Yeah.
to push back on. And also, we
How
are
young
just
do
doing
we
this.
go?
for,
Well, we're
like,
not
the
fucking
long-
nerds.
Mark's
That's,
the
that's,
youngest.
that's the thing everyone
He's
should
the
know
youngest
about.
one.
I am the youngest one.
How old are you?
I'm 31.
wow. Okay.
Baby Mark.
Some of us are almost 40.
Connor, you've been saying that you're almost 40 for 5 years.
Yeah, but I'm only 1 year away. 2 years away. A year and a half.
Yeah, I'm 37. I do have a literature degree. I have an English degree and a MFA in.
No, you got the
creative
actual
writing.
English degree.
Yeah, but
Oh, you're the one they're talking about.
So I can say that I think English major, and it means so little in your opinion of
Oh,
literature.
yeah.
Like so many English majors are just squares, just no real critical capacity. Like that doesn't necessarily come from a classroom. And I think
But some do touch people's lives.
That is.
I'm not saying they're all bad. It's just like any other group of people. I mean,
Well, it's
you
like
can't
any undergrad
generalize
degree
about it.
basically means nothing at this
For
point.
sure.
So.
But I think that's
Well, it doesn't mean
what,
anything conclusive.
I think
Right.
that's what the post was saying. The comment was saying like going to school, you think oh, I like know everything.
makes you
I
pretentious.
can like be really smart about this like book. I think that's what he's saying. Like he thinks that like, oh, you like had a couple years at like whatever English
That's
classes.
the thing is that we've all been ground under the boot heel of real life for a number of years.
Exactly.
So like,
Which is why we can relate to philosophical texts more.
Right.
yeah, exactly.
More authentically.
Yeah.
Much
Right.
deeper.
I don't think he was I don't think he was saying. I don't know. Is the argument that we are saying that that are we coming from the place where he thinks he was saying that like you have to have an English degree?
No. He was just making fun.
I think he was saying English degrees are all we have, and as Mark said,
Right.
we do not have the real life experience
Like we come
that he has.
we come across
Yes.
as
we
young
don't have
people
the,
just out
the
of
requisite libertarian Catholic
I
experience.
see it.
But I do. I'm a libertarian Catholic.
Connor does. So.
Connor has that part.
Connor is the.
But I have a high school diploma.
Yeah, there you go.
Are you really a libertarian?
I believe
talking
in
to
the
this guy?
philosophy of libertarianism.
Connor
and
doesn't know-
I quit the party because there are a bunch of assholes who aren't doing it right.
Connor uses political signifiers in a way that no one else.
We're gonna
does.
have to talk.
Also,
We'll
you
talk
should-
about this later.
you
This
should-
is not the place for this. We'll
Connor
talk about
once
this
told me
later.
he was a Republican, and I had to convince him that he's not.
I have some sympathies for old. I mean,
If I
I'm
run it,
switching.
maybe
I'm
as
going
a
to become a
Republican.
Republican so I can vote against Donald Trump in the primary. Sorry, Don.
Is he getting primary?
If you're watching
Yeah,
this,
there's
Don.
like 3 people running against him.
Oh, well. Could be
Who
interesting.
is running against him?
I'm one of them.
I know. I saw one of them on Bill Maher, and it's
Okay.
just like,
Oh,
this is
great.
an idea.
Yeah, that's gonna go well.
Is Hoagie running against him?
No, I think he's waiting for a time when he might actually be able to become president.
Fucking hate Hogan.
Wouldn't that
We
be
know.
Hogan sucks.
Fuck Hogan.
We're
Fuck
all
Yeah, he-
firmly.
Hulk or
I
Larry.
think I can speak
Hey.
for the room when I say
Okay.
we're all firmly anti-Hogan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Great.
cool.
I want the ultimate warrior to be governor. Or
He's dead.
Yeah, or Macho Man. But
We
never
shouldn't let
Hogan.
death stop
Also
our
dead.
politicians.
Yes, let's
We shouldn't
let's
allow
only
death.
nominate
Stop.
dead
Oh
wrestlers.
no, of course not. Of course not.
Yeah.
And it hasn't stopped anyone else.
Harley Cruz just died, so you know.
Ron, did you have like some point earlier that you wanted, like you were talking about, like
About
that
the kids
post?
watching the show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to make sure that kids who watch the show know that like we all have very different backgrounds. Some
Yeah.
people have graduated, some people have post-graduated, some people didn't graduate, and some people studied literature and some people study other stuff, right?
I think it's
Theater.
It's probably a fair assumption that we have all taken at least a couple of English classes at a college level, right?
Well, I do have an English degree.
Well, there you go.
So-
All right, so English degree, English.
No,
degree.
I went to art school,
English
which is
minor.
incredibly dumb.
Oh, you don't even
Take any lit
read there.
classes?
Do theater count as lit?
It can.
Yeah.
All right.
You didn't
Counts
take
as
any
literature.
literature classes in 4 years of college?
I withdrew from every single one because I disagreed with the teacher.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yes, which is the real spirit of the.
You need to listen to Connor when he says he's a libertarian.
Who?
In
Yeah,
the
yeah,
right-
it might be there a little bit.
The writing program at Johns Hopkins, you don't read very much.
That's so weird.
It's like you
That's
read.
great.
Are you expected to read yourself?
I wish I didn't
Like,
read
is
in
it
my
just
master's
assumed?
program.
They assume that you're gonna
Oh, those
read.
are the classes
They give
that I
you
like
little,
most.
like very targeted
good,
little
but it's like
passages
just
to
a
look
book.
at, but
I
mostly
read
it's like
my own
spend your
books.
time
I took
writing.
this Toni Morrison
Just
class.
like write. If you want to read, you can read,
That's
but like
really
when we're in
hard.
class, we're
Yeah.
just gonna talk about stuff you wrote and
I'm
give
gonna
you new
make sure
stuff to.
Johnston's on there.
It's like
You
writing
got
boot
Johnston
camp.
on the
I guess,
live
yeah.
chat.
But that makes
Pull up
sense
the
because
chat.
you're there to be trained to write. Oh, are we still? This is part of the show, right?
This is part of the show.
This is the
This is for the
credentialing
kids watching,
section of
yeah.
the show.
It's for the kids so that they don't think like, so nobody thinks that there's some kind of homogenous, like academia-powered beast here. That this is something very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay to learn on your own. And easier.
Yeah, and maybe that's why we seem so
Not for
excited,
everyone.
is because
I
we're
didn't
not
get your
compelled in any way
We'll
to
have to
think
go
about
after.
this. You know?
But I can give you a ride home if you want. But you can come with me.
I don't even know how to read, so it's like. I don't even know what the fuck
I've just been flipping this and talking.
I
Words,
enjoy the
words,
shape of
words.
the ink on the page.
It looks so nice.
Vasily and Googly.
This
I
page
just
looks
listened to the-
nice,
I
and
just listened
this
to the
page
Alzheimer's
looks nice.
podcast for the chapters we read before. And then I just come in.
There you go. So we backed up, right? Like
You 2013
23.
The curse town.
126.
He refers to it as a town here, but to me it just seems like a collection of
It's like a weird.
ship-like buildings. I guess we can get to that.
Oh.
Compound,
Yeah.
perhaps?
Like, what are we talking about here? What is
And these
What do
statues,
they call these
right?
monuments?
Well, and it's
yeah.
a landing, or like a air
that's what
field
the
in some way.
Is that what the
there's
road
all
is?
the, because there's all the ships, the towers, the ships, towers,
yeah. So
Rockets.
the rockets.
So wait, when is the landing
Spaceport.
strip the road that he's walking up?
Oh, I mean, well, it's not for airplanes. It's for rockets. I mean, an airfield, spaceport is what I was trying.
Oh, okay.
Spaceport.
It's
Oh,
at least part
Cosmic
spaceport
road.
because
Yeah.
there's like all these.
Okay, I thought you were talking about, you know how he describes the road when they first get up?
Yeah.
And then there's like this perfectly paved
Well,
road.
that's like a highway, right?
That's
Like
just a
road
highway for
road.
cars. Like I thought
Or
you were, I
something.
thought you were saying that was like a landing strip for maybe flyers or something, or big ships, but they don't.
I
operate that way.
thought of that.
It
as
seems
just
like they don't
a
really
road.
need the like runway for any of their flying implements.
Right.
I don't
Everything
think
kind of just
flyers need
lifts.
Yeah,
I think that's
right.
what we're-
That makes sense.
We're getting at.
Yeah.
And there's also these statues, right, of warriors that turn towards the sun.
Yeah.
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 And they're gigantic, yeah? They're big?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're big, but I
yeah.
guess they're not as big as like the Typhon Mountain.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not the size of a mountain.
They're
Yeah.
not the size of a mountain, but they are quite large.
They're
So
big.
that seemed like the like the terracotta soldier
Uh-huh.
kind of deal with a weird, creepy sun following.
Also, do they turn towards the sun or do they turn towards Severian?
And is
I
there
mean-
a difference between
Right.
those?
Yes, right.
Right,
But
right,
I mean, in place. Well, the old sun. There's a difference between the old sun and Severian.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
I just
in my
feel
own-
like the thing is written pointedly so that in the practical reality of the world, they're turning towards the old sun. And like when Severian notices that, he first says, "Oh, they're looking at me. Oh no, it's the sun." And I think that that was,
I've actually noted a couple times throughout the books where there's little like things that are not necessarily like Severian is literally the sun, but like there's that where the statues, and then I think in the last section we read, what does he like? Who does he? Does he like make an oath to someone, and they say like he said I can't point my sword at the sun, so I pointed it at myself or something. And it's like all these little things
I
that
don't remember that.
that are like comparing him to the sun over and over again in like tiny little, like really easily missed.
One thing I noticed in this section towards it's when he is having his last interaction with Typhon, is it seems that there's this weird subtextual thing where Severian does realize he's the conciliator.
Yeah.
And maybe we can talk about that when we get there. But there's this awkward little moment where Typhon like says something like, "Oh, I think the conciliator's still around."
Oh, yeah.
And then Severian like feels like
He's
awkward.
like, if he is, he will be my slave.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No!
I think that's like in confrontation with like the most horrible thing he's ever seen, he must bring himself up to like the most upright and best he's ever been to meet that like that evil or whatever. I feel like it's a subtle argument of like why do we have evil
Yeah.
that is happening when Severian finally like inhabits that role.
But
And we can see it as the weird selfish like con man in him, but there is also like he's falling ass backwards into virtue.
Severian there.
I think so.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that whole section. I feel like there might be some biblical kind of correlations there with like Satan and everything. I don't know.
Yeah, oh, definitely, because
Yeah.
he's doing the temptation of
Right,
Christ of
right.
like you can have all this, you'll be in charge, and
Yeah.
and he's like leaning really hard on that part of like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be up there and you're gonna govern down here.
Right.
There's I think we're probably gonna mainly just jump to Typhon because all this stuff leading up to it is just like foreshadowing for Typhon.
I mean,
but is there anything from those two chapters leading up that
I
we
mean, I
want to
feel like
cover?
we should go through it. and
Oh,
just
yeah.
look
Maybe
at
we
it.
could jump, kind of skip through. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
well, the
just
the
like-
curse town is mainly just like
I like the stuff
describing.
about
Well, like-
Gurlos at the very beginning.
I thought
Yeah,
it was interesting
yeah.
that about what?
Gurlos, like at the
Yeah.
the third
Yeah, well, I
paragraph.
thought it was interesting that like this is one
lying.
point at which Sumerian seems to be like legitimately self-critical in this way, because it's like
Which part?
at the very beginning of the Curse Town, because he's talking about how he feels kind of like dirty for playing tricks, for like lying to the magicians, and it's like this interesting thing where he realizes that like he feels guilt because he's been shitting on them for being like fake magicians the whole time, but he was also just being a fake magician or whatever.
Yeah, but that's well, I don't know why I'm trying to argue with Severian now. I mean, like that's what magic is. Too.
Lying.
So that's about, I mean, yeah, either you're a stage magician, you know, palming cards and whatnot, or you're just like, I believe what I believe so hard that it becomes real. I fake it till it's real, you know, like, it's a funny thing for him to feel guilty about it.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
It is.
I mean, it's even in that.
Because he just legitimately beat them at their own game.
Yeah.
I think that's just another like Seb's so dumb. You know,
So
like
dumb.
like yeah, like he can't see past the tip of his nose.
Well, I kind of see
we
it
should
as
make
like,
T-shirts that say "Seb so dumb."
Yeah, we
I
really-
would
absolutely.
I would really wear that. I'll work on that.
I actually kind of underline that part where he like is talking about being
Lying.
guilty about
Yeah.
lying. I almost think that he's sort of like, because he lies so much, and he's kind of like mentioned, you know, in the beginning, the very beginning, he's like, oh, I lie all the time, I don't even remember what I lie about.
Yeah.
That it's like, he just flagrantly lied so much that I feel like he has to now be like, oh, I feel really bad that I lied so much.
But he's not like he doesn't even feel bad about him lying. Right? Like I mean I guess he feels bad
He said, "What
that
disturbed
he
me?
lied.
What disturbed me was the memory of the lies.
It's weird that he feels bad for lying to the magicians, even though he doesn't like them because they're liars.
Yeah.
And he also lies constantly.
Yeah.
It's like the entire book is just him lying
Yeah.
his ass off.
Right.
And
So forever.
Key part
And
of
this is
being a good liar is convincing yourself that you're not lying.
very true. But like
Yeah.
it's
And it
interesting
hurts when
that
you're
this is
lying.
like a chink in that
Yeah.
armor.
Yeah, I
where-
think that's what I
Compare
Yeah.
this
Wow.
too with like later on when he meets the Hetzman and he just acts like a fucking douchebag.
Oh, God,
Yeah,
he's so
yeah.
Like
awful.
and like so compare he's
I
like
think douchebag is a really good word for.
Yeah,
his
he does
behavior.
douche it up.
but
real
like
bad.
with the Hetzman I feel like that's where like
No, I
he
mean, I'm
really,
saying,
like, 180.
yeah, I think that's a really just good descriptive word.
I feel
No
like
offense
this
to
is
douchebags.
the Severian, the mode of Severian
okay.
where like, you see it a couple times. Like the one time, what was it in the guard tower? Is that where he was when he like,
Vulcan neck pinch the dude.
does that? And then isn't there another inn that he goes into? Oh, is it the Duck's Nest where he sits and everyone's just like,
Oh yeah, and he's like,
Yeah.
he's like,
he just like
surfing.
dominates
Yeah.
the room.
Mhm.
I feel like he like uses that sometimes. Sometimes he's like, it's just me, dumb old Severian, and then sometimes he's like, okay, I'm like terrifying, and and I know that, and I'm gonna.
And it seems
Maybe
like
I'll give you what I
feel
want.
like he's trained to use that.
Right.
Probably.
Oh, sure.
Well, there's certainly an amount of intimidation tactic, and then he also like he'll say like I'm a master or I'm a grandmaster, you know, basically
keeps
because
saying
that's
that.
like not really like they have no way of falsifying that, so he's really just like going into these situations and like seeing how he can use his sort of like built-in intimidation to like get whatever he wants.
It's
And
funny
then he'll
because
do
he
the
keeps
opposite
like,
when he's talking to the Archon.
yeah, it's funny
Right,
because he
right.
like keeps claiming that he's like a master and that he's like or the lictor or whatever,
Mhm.
you know, but he's like it's all this is after he's
He's
denounced, but not only ditched, but also like to himself denounced the role or renounced.
But
or
he's
whatever.
still like even though he's so weird because he's constantly like
Oh, he weird.
he's like I'm not a torturer anymore, but this is also my entire worldview and everything I know, and so I am a torturer forever.
yeah, and that's what I love about Severian. You know, not that I would want to hang out with him, but as like a character that Gene Wolfe created, is that he has this rich sort of moral interior that he like constantly thinks about, but his behavior like doesn't match with that. And I feel like that's so essential to like what Wolfe is trying to craft is this really unpredictable, inconsistent dude, like who like takes on aspects of heroism, but is just not a hero, not even an anti-hero. It's just sort of a complicated
And
character.
he's the hope for mankind, which I think means he has to be really shitty Because like a perfect person succeeding offers no hope to anyone.
But he acts
That's
shitty.
true, but
That's-
sin without no redemption without sin, rather.
That's, I feel like, at some point explicitly stated in the book somewhere.
Oh yeah, well,
Isn't there a
it's in
point where
book
that's
5
explicitly
for shit
stated?
shirt.
Yeah.
And it's the reason why
For
I
shit sure.
have cognitive dissonance about people's love of Beyonce.
About what?
The flawlessness. Is
Go
Yeah,
on.
like I've really hard
I can
time
find some
comprehending
flaws in
people's love
Beyonce.
of Beyonce. Because it does seem to like diminish your hope, but
Of marrying Jay-Z.
or I don't know of being rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like she got her rewards because she's perfect. Of course she gets them.
She got her rewards because she was born with that silver spoon in her mouth.
Beyonce is
Beyonce?
unrelatable
No,
to
no, no.
everyone.
Her parents were like insane, like Suzuki method, push you into the
Yeah.
business people.
Yeah, they
weren't
like,
rich.
They're
were
like
they were
overbearing.
psycho.
Oh, I heard they were real rich.
No, they're like showbiz. Like her dad's like Michael Jackson's dad kind of level of.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Michael
like
Jackson's
adopted
dad's
one of the
still rich right
Destiny's
now.
Child people.
Yes, but
too,
he
or
was
something,
not in the
isn't they? Yeah,
60s.
okay.
Oh, I want to say that what you were describing is what I feel about Catholicism.
What were you? Oh, right.
I
You
completely
sort of
renounce
lapsed-
Catholicism. I will always be a Catholic.
Right. That makes sense.
And it makes me feel closer to Gene, who I secretly think has done the same thing.
You think so? Because he had
Converted
converted
too.
like pretty.
And then you think you renounced later.
Like this is still fairly fresh Catholic gene, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I have not renounced Catholicism.
I was never a Catholic.
Same.
I was a Methodist.
I feel like you just got to take a long view of it.
Catholicism?
Yeah, I mean it's thousands of years old. You gotta go with the whole thing.
I'm my own religion. I don't want it. I mean, something I got out of Catholicism was like, oh, I can do this, you know? I think that's what Jesus meant to teach us.
Right. Well, yeah, that you can have a direct connection to the Godhead without an intermediary, like a Pharisee.
Spoken like a true Protestant.
Yeah. Well,
That's the thesis.
that's the thesis.
The beauty
maybe
of
Jesus was a
One of
Protestant.
99.
But look at their outfits.
the beauty
That's
of being
true.
born a Jew is you don't feel the pressure to even have to renounce anything.
There you go.
That's true. So I think it might.
You're like,
So
well,
there.
I'm not
So there is
really a
this.
Jew, but I'm.
There is this lapsed Catholic connection, but there's also this, sort of like Jewish diaspora idea where there is this like sort of strong identification that may or may not come with a religious motive. I don't know. Never mind.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Next.
Next.
We didn't talk about Gerlos.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we can.
He's Bush Jr. He's GW.
Really?
Yeah, if he had been the simple, brutal man he wished everyone to believe he was, I could have been certain now that his dishonesty had been for his benefit alone. I knew that he was not. Perhaps for years he had seen himself as I now saw myself. That is, to me, is like a strong GWB vibes.
I always thought he was a genuine simpleton, just propped up.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like he was a
George Bush.
Yeah, the junior. I don't think he was a.
That GW, not RGW.
I guess I don't think he was a simpleton.
Well, it seems like a sort of hallmark of the George W. Bush administration was expansion of executive powers, so this might work because like Gerlo's real motive was more just to prop up the guild and prop up his position within it, less about maintaining the secrets or whatever. It was more just about kind of
Administrative kind of
power. just snowballing that power and hanging on to it in a way that it seemed like a lot of Bush administration policies were less about actually doing anything or super. I mean, I guess
they were doing a lot.
Yeah, they're doing a lot.
9/11.
They did a ton.
They're doing a lot, but a big part of it was making the president more powerful, making the executive branch a lot more powerful.
In order to make rich people more rich.
Yes.
Brown and Root specifically. Later, Kellogg, Brown and Root.
What?
Brown and Root. That's the country. That's the people who got rich and put Cheney in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Brown. They're like a paving company that bought Lyndon Johnson really early in his career, and then paving. Yeah, they built roads in Texas and then a dam.
Lots of those in
You
Texas.
would have thought that would have gotten into Eisenhower. He was the paving guy.
Yeah.
Right? The interstate man.
these were like
Because Johnson was post Eisenhower, so
Yeah, and Brown and Root
Like-
were like two brothers and their friend company. When
they
started.
probably made a shit ton of money off of the interstate initiative. So that might have been a big part of it.
But yeah, they bought Johnson, and then they later on become a huge part of Halliburton. And so
Chinese.
like if you follow that company from Johnson to Bush, you see like Bush is Texas oil man becomes involved with that mafia.
Yeah, and then
he brings
Halliburton
in this-
was a major part of the whole fucking
Iraq,
war.
yeah.
I mean,
Blackwater.
everywhere that the U.S. military goes, a Halliburton subsidiary goes with them
Yes.
to supply logistics, food, cleanup, like
Take
all
a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the non-combat functions are performed by private companies, and they're usually Halliburton subsidiaries.
What is Blackwater?
Oh no, they're their own thing.
That's what I thought.
That's
Oh,
very
yeah.
different.
Yeah.
That's a Betsy DeVos.
I know.
That's her but they're still involved
She's
with all that
married
too.
into it.
But
I think
they're
Well, they're-
And all
Blackwater,
you who are raiding Area 51, you got that's
they
what you're up
rebranded.
against.
I think
Is
they're not
Betsy
called
DeVos
Blackwater
Eric
anymore.
Prince's
They're like a
sister?
different thing, and
Is
they,
Is that right?
I think they kind of they were trying to get away from the whole murdering civilians all the time.
right.
Uh,
Was their whole
stigma.
thing they were military contractors? Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
mercenaries.
Both
They're
of these
just
are military
mercenaries.
contractors. You have like
Right.
consulting, military consulting,
like-
and then you have like
Mercenaries.
force
Hired.
prevention. Yeah,
Right.
they have a series of cool euphemisms to
Yeah.
describe it. But yeah, Blackwater are like they're providing more like dudes with guns and
They have a
No
new
scruples.
name now that's weirder.
academy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Academy?
No, I thought there was a shorter.
Yeah,
They were XE for a while.
Oh yeah, right.
But now
Right.
they had to change that again, and now they're
Academy.
academy.
Oh.
But it's not
Weird.
academy in English; it's academy in Welsh.
How's it spelled?
AKADEMI.
Ew.
Oh,
I don't know why Welsh. I would love to
I
hear.
have a visceral reaction to anything with a K in it.
yeah, a cat.
Hey, okay.
It doesn't
Oh, it's not a K. It's a
It's
C.
just
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
academy, but with an I instead of a Y.
Oh, I made it more fantastical in my mind.
Oh,
Fucking dumb. They did that in 2011. I didn't realize that it had been that long.
Yeah, they haven't been Blackwater for a while.
People also ask, how much do Blackwater soldiers make? Is being a mercenary illegal?
Oh my god.
No, it is not.
You got to get
How do I
permission from
become
your
a
government.
mercenary?
Okay. All right. Let's go back.
Texas.
Thank you, Jen.
Texas runs the country.
I'm just getting depressed again, and I was
Yeah,
trying to get not
let's-
depressed this early.
All right.
in the day.
Anything else
Yeah.
from this chapter that I guess they set up the ring.
Just one quick thing I want to bring up. I feel like Severian kind of has a good amount of knowledge about things. He kind of understands that this town, as soon as he's walking up to it, this cursed town is really old. But he just instinctively seems to know that. The kid is like, my mother said we couldn't use the road because of the soldiers, and he's like, your mom was right, but she was going down where the soldiers are. Blah blah blah. This town died a long time before the biggest tree in the jungle down there was a seed. I'm just like, how does he? And
Well, he recognizes that there are ships, which are towers
Yeah.
his tower.
Yeah.
And he knows that those
so
are
he just
old.
that,
I think
that's
it's
old stuff. It's like ruins.
It seems like it was built around the same time as the city. It's there's things,
Yeah.
spaceship things.
Yeah.
I think is why.
Is he wrong? Maybe.
I don't think so. I mean,
What do you
No,
mean?
I think it is super old since that's where.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I mean,
I think
could
he,
it?
he doesn't necessarily have to be as sure as he's making it out to be to this child.
He's
Alright.
just trying to be like avuncular
This is like
to
kind of-
little
Yeah.
Severian.
Yeah, I'm wondering if his
Calming.
Who he
What
calls
he's-
his son later.
what he's
isn't it?
expressing is not like a detached estimation of anything's age here. He's talking about the feeling of its age, that these things are so old that the natural stuff around us doesn't even have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Something like it's the I don't know, a way of putting this part of humans past so far back that
Right.
it's
And that must
impossible
be
to
like
touch.
part of the collective knowledge of people at the time. Oh, those kind of towers are from before even nature was around.
Yeah.
Those are the oldest.
Yeah.
Because he just says it so matter of factly.
Yeah, yeah. He probably. I don't think that he's got a whole lot of knowledge about the geological history
Yeah.
of where he's at. He's just making a lot of assumptions.
Like, I have a broader question too, which is just like, it seems so weird to me that this town is so quiet and so abandoned and so untouched by humans. Because like anyone can walk up there.
But it's like,
It's
well,
cursed.
but it's also like way up in the mountain. Like it's not really in a
Even
like
still,
super accessible.
You know, Severian and this kid managed to walk up there.
Right,
Like,
that's true.
I
Anyone
don't
could
get the
probably go
sense
up there.
that this is like
It's fucked up.
that this is like a town people lived in, but more maybe like a compound. If like space stuff is going on here,
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
there's like barracks or is that what
Military.
people-
And I mean, it seems like all the big weird statues that turn, and you know, it seems like it might have a bit of an aura about it that people stay away from it regardless.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that's the most likely thing. Because otherwise, wouldn't the zone
It's
drops
cursed.
like, or
Well, right.
Or-
Also,
people like just kind of move in and just kind of live in it?
Typhon
also,
was
you would
so
imagine that people that live anywhere near there all probably know about it, and there's probably reasons they don't fuck with it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the most.
I think
likely.
Typhon
Maybe
was
they
so-
saw the weird two-headed man that's desiccated on the couch, and we're like,
Right.
let's stay away from this.
Or else also
I've seen
there's
Alien.
like oral history in a certain way that gets passed down. That's like,
Yeah.
you know, we know what that is, and we don't fuck with that.
High school kids still do.
Towards the end of this section, there's that
So
bit
weird.
where he talks about like when he's looking at the island and the horizon, and he does that whole spiel about like symbols leave their like imprint on places even after you stop looking at them. I feel like that is why the town's cursed. Is that like Typhon was so fucking horrible, like the epitome of man at his worst. That like even if like through whatever and every means, like people don't go there anymore.
Yeah. Before we go to the next chapter, I do want to read one line of dialogue out of context, which is, "Big Severian, look,
Yeah.
do you see the hand?"
Big
Severian.
Big Severian, do you see the hand? Yeah.
This was when I most liked Severian in all of the books, I think, when he's with the little boy.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I think
Yeah.
it gives him a level of responsibility that he never has before. I mean,
Right.
like, I feel like he's got a lot of like, sort of like duty-bound things that he feels like he has to do throughout the book, and he always, you know, doesn't do them. He breaks his oaths or whatever. But like, feeling responsible for this kid in a way, I think does mature him in.
And it was something he did
In a
that
good direction.
he didn't stand to gain from, it seemed like, unlike most of his other things that he
Right.
does.
Of course, you know. Of course, it doesn't go that well. He's a dad for like
No, it goes
two-
like shit
2
for little
weeks.
Severian.
I had a kid once.
Does anybody have any thoughts on the possibility that these Severians are the same Severian?
I want to talk about this. I definitely wanted to bring that up. Whether that they're either that or like just in general the question of like the device of little Severian,
Yeah.
like what. You know, he's also an orphan. He's also probably around the same age that when Severian was an orphan.
Yeah.
And then he gets fucking toasted.
Yeah.
And like, what does that all?
It's gotta mean.
There's part of me
Like,
that thinks
what
that
is
like
the
that kid
ultimate-
dies and then that spirit becomes Severian coming up out of the Nenephars. Like there was a transmigration of his soul to that, which I have no reason to think that. That's just me. Like I'm exhausted.
I mean, I think there's got to be something there.
There's gotta be something
Like, you
intentional.
don't you don't just like have a kid,
Yeah. with the
name
same
is
name.
Severian, make him spend all this time with Big Severian.
Yeah.
and they're
Just to
not-
roast him, yeah.
just to roast him. There not to be like a big significance.
Well, there is one thing that I think probably isn't like the main thing is without. Well, it's a way to introduce the idea of the twin naming.
And the implication of Severian's twin.
Yeah.
And there's also to touch on something that'll happen in the future. There's some weird part where he convinces himself, or perhaps it's more true because I feel like sometimes when he's just trying to convince himself of things, they turn out to be true. When he's lying to whatever, that Severian, baby Severian, and Jader are somehow the same
Right.
person.
Mhm.
And then that got me to thinking about like when Severian's writing this book as autarch, he is in the
Yeah.
autarch's way. That's everybody. So in a way, is not every person we meet Severian?
Well, does it work reverse like that? Like Severian is everyone, right?
Right, if everybody is inside of Severian.
But he's not inside of them.
No, but he's inside of
Right,
us.
but when we meet him, like, Severian is writing this
right,
book,
all
so
of
he's
the
like, "And I met
characters-
this guy, that guy's inside of him, and can, like,
Right.
yeah,
the-
that affects his writing.
But wouldn't he? Don't you think that he would speak a little better of some people if that were the case?
If there is 7 billion people inside of him.
But maybe like Jolenta like hates herself, you know.
Oh, also, Jolenta and Dorcas.
Oh yeah,
We gotta talk about
I
that.
think
Tri-bait.
That was
I don't think that happened.
You
I
read
think
that.
Severian's like,
Yes,
no.
When you just said that, the way that you said that really reminded me of Larry David.
Thank you.
Just the way, the intonation.
yeah, it definitely did not
Anyway.
happen.
Yeah, I really think that's just a sex fantasy.
So are we at the corpse now?
Yeah. So they go into this the roundhouse as they call it, and it's a total like
Yeah.
I don't know. This reminded me of that scene from Alien with the
The
space,
elephant.
the space jockey
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and then what was the Prometheus one?
Yeah, well, it was the same.
Yeah.
That was a callback to the to
that,
the original one.
That thing.
Um,
Yeah, I'm so confused. So, okay, so there's like this little chamber, and Typhon is like all dehydrated inside of it.
yeah, he's just like on a
Like-
basically like on a medical
like
couch.
one of those fruit dryer things that you make fruit roll-ups out of.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
A mummy.
he's like inside of this.
He's-
So no one's fucked with this for years. The machine still works. It can like bring it, supposedly, unless it was Severian that brought him back.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
It seems like the machinery.
Doesn't-
I don't know.
didn't bring
It seems
Just
like
like with his grandma.
it seems like ancient machinery seems to hold up
Well, it
pretty
could have
well
also
in
been-
this new
Typhon
world.
says
But
the machine brought him back to life.
Yeah,
That's
but
right.
Typhon doesn't. Typhon thinks of himself as all powerful, and he.
Typhon's kind of a dick.
contextual-
Yeah.
Typhon would not be the
Kind of a
person.
dick.
Typhon would not be the person to
give anyone
contextualize himself within like severity. Like,
credit. And he also doesn't
you know,
know.
he thinks of himself as like he's anti-New Sun, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
he
for
thinks
sure.
of himself in order to be anti-New Sun. In the way that he is, he also has to think of himself as superior
Yeah, so he's
to
fully
the conciliation,
self-possessed.
superior.
Does he know that Severian?
Because he's like, oh well,
Yeah,
this,
he
went-
totally knows
'cause,
who
like,
Severian is,
you're
right?
Typhon, right?
I don't-
You haven't
we
been
gotta-
awake
we
for
gotta talk
thousands
about
of
that,
years
right?
or
Well,
whatever.
'cause
Wait.
yeah.
You're Typhon, right? You haven't been awake for like thousands of years or whatever. You have all the last time you're a conscious person, as far as anyone can tell, is when you're like put into suspended animation, and everyone's like, eventually you'll wake back up because we have all these machines.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing that's in your mind, and then you wake up and you're like, oh, my machines woke me up.
Right.
But
That doesn't mean that the machines
Severian's
woke
presence
up.
could have triggered the machines to wake Typhon up. Like it could have been.
Severian does
Both
push
things
every
could be
button
true.
and move every lever.
He does.
Both things could be true, yeah.
So like Severian
No.
does do it, but the machine also works.
Well,
Maybe.
there's no reason to
Maybe.
believe that, is what
I
I'm
guess.
saying.
Oh, because
Hey, you know what?
Severian.
We don't know.
we
we
don't.
don't
We don't know.
That's my point. I'm just trying to introduce doubt. Like,
Oh yeah.
One
I
thing
was
we-
just saying that for Vaseline.
Vastly, if he's watching.
The funniest way is if, like, the same thing is happening, which happened with his grandma in the, like, you know, the big lake of bodies, where his presence has brought someone back to life, and pressing all the buttons has, like, achieved nothing. That's the funniest way.
Yeah.
That's the way I believe.
Well, that's sort of like a physical outgrowth of his. You know, he's sort of like whatever. He's projecting his will into this room
Yeah.
by just fiddling with everything, and
Yeah.
so it doesn't even necessarily matter if the machinery is functioning or not. He's kind of like he's putting that new sun energy.
Yeah.
there.
He's the ingredient that
Yeah.
matters. He's the part of the chain that makes it possible.
Yeah,
Right.
whatever happens.
Whatever
Severian
happens.
did it.
Yeah. He is the mechanism.
So Jen and Connor, you both a little bit more familiar with the Typhon character. Like, so I mean, so he was like the king at some point, and he's like dehydrated here to be preserved anew in the future. Is that like did he put himself there? Did his people put him there?
I think the Typhon's obsessed with life extension. I think that he has several different.
Was he coming
Yeah.
to? Was he dying of old age? Did he have a disease? Like,
Well, he got fucked because everyone left. Like he stayed behind
Oh, yeah,
Right,
like
when
everyone-
everyone was sent away.
Right. So it was
And
just
then
him.
and then whatever happened, he couldn't leave. And then he was like, okay, I'm just.
So
I
maybe
think all the ships left.
just him
so he
alone
lost
in his
ride.
place, and he was like, "Fuck! Now I'm trapped here. I'll just wait on this drying table until."
I think he's
Like,
expecting
Well, I don't
someone
think
to
it's
come
a
back.
drying.
Whatever
table.
it is. Sorry, I think of him
desiccation
as
is, like,
being
from
dried
time.
out. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
but that's not.
It's
It's,
like
not
mummified, okay.
intended to dry him out.
Also,
I think he
if
thought
it's
that
been-
somebody would come back sooner. Than
If it's been
Yes.
millions,
nobody ever comes
if
back.
it's been millions of years though, how come he hasn't completely decomposed? Like, how come he's just like
Future science.
like a raisin?
He's a mummy.
Like
Seems-
a bog parson
Seems
or something.
okay. So maybe he
He's a
must have
mummy.
been
Oh yeah, he's
preserved
been
in
pumped
this.
full of
Like,
peat.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like
doesn't last that long. Like
he is
this
hooked
place-
up to all this stuff, so there's some amount of preservation happening. I imagine
That's what
that
I'm
the-
thinking. Like
The
We don't know what
environment-
force fields are in.
The
He must
environment
be in
is
a
probably
preservation tank of some kind.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
like
all
Lenin- like
kinds
Lenin's
of
body.
advanced technology
Cryogenics.
in Typhon's age that.
Like it's
Yeah,
We
Typhon's
don't
age is
understand.
more advanced than this. Than
Sure.
Severian.
Yeah.
right.
By far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is
We
what.
fully
So he's
regressed
from
back to-
before. Right. So he's from before everyone left, and then the robots came back and taught everyone how to be human again.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that
Well,
Typhon's probably
I
the
believe
pinnacle
that
of
there's,
technology.
this is something that there's debate about.
Wait. No, he's from after the machines,
I
right?
think
Because
I-
he collected all the information and was gonna burn it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people argue about this, and I think
Where's the
that they argue
timeline
about
thing?
it in the lexicon.
History of Earth is the one, right?
Yeah.
So do we see more Typhon in other books?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
ones?
Is he
Book
an Earth?
5
He's
and
an
the
Earth.
Long Sun.
Oh, and the
Okay.
Long Sun. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. I'll look forward to that.
That's like I just know him from these two chapters, and I
Yeah, the machines are
read
before
Earth,
Typhon.
but
No,
don't-
he's a great
don't
character.
remember. He is an interesting character. He has this like car salesman kind of like
Yeah.
vibe to him. Like he's very like he's a very well written like
That'll be the Satan.
like tyrant because he's kind of charming. You know, like he charms Severian through a lot of this like
He's
like
got that
tricks.
confidence.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, I like him.
unshakable
Big
sense of
dick
self.
energy.
Yeah, where the party's trying to
Too
get
different.
Severian to like basically pledge like
Well, there's
unlimited
only one.
fealty to him, and
Yeah.
Severian's like, just so you know, I break every oath. And Typhon's like, yeah, whatever. Like,
Right.
let's just do this now, and then I'll release you from it later, I guess. Whatever.
he jokes too. Maybe we're skipping ahead a little bit, but you know when they're like in that weird like flyer thing going up to the top, he's like, "You don't want to like sit upright because your head will get chopped off." And take it from me, that's not a great.
Is that when he's also he also has an erection and he's lazily masturbating with it?
Oh yeah,
That's
right.
that
The other
part's cool.
hand is just-
Yeah.
it's just
Before we
I
hit,
Well, I think that's
idly jerking
Pieton,
off. Yeah, that's
fucking
Pieton.
with him, kind of.
It's just like idle sexual.
that's the
fucking.
good part, is the one that's masturbating. The good side of it. Wait, before we hit that chapter,
Yeah.
this thing on page 135 is one of my favorite things. If I'd seen one miracle fail, I had witnessed another, and even a seemingly purposeless miracle is an inexhaustible source of hope, because it proves to us that since we do not understand everything, our defeats, so much more numerous than our few and empty victories, may be equally specious. That fucking, I love that so much.
Yeah.
That is like I feel like a inexhaustible source of hope itself. Those like sentences.
yeah.
And I think it links back to the whole like Severian has to, in order to be the hope of your species, you have to be a horrible specimen.
That's such an interesting, I mean, like I wonder what Gene's take on like the perfection of Jesus is then, because I mean, I know there's a lot of like apocrypha or like the Gnostic Gospels where Jesus is not as perfect as he comes across in the sort of whatever
The canon.
the canon, the ones that are in it, the books what are in the Bible.
Well,
The books that are
I mean,
There's a gospel allegedly there's a gospel written in the first person where the author talks about tricking everybody into thinking that he died. Simon, the Cyrenian, dies in his stead, and then he runs away to Egypt and is like, ha ha ha, I tricked everybody.
I feel like that's one of the Metal Gear games plot.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
that does sound like a Metal Gear game.
Yeah.
But even just like there, what is, I think it's maybe the Gospel of Jesus, or one of the Gospel of Thomas or something, where it's like about Jesus' childhood, where he like
the infinite Jesus.
Yeah, where he like murders a kid and then he brings it back to life, and like, you know, like there's fallibility and humanity in this sort of like non-canon version of Jesus, and I wonder if, you know, because you know, like you were saying, like in order for someone to be the savior, like they have to be like a terrible specimen, at least in this context. And so, but I wonder what that says about like Gene's reading on
I think for
the initial context of the Bible.
I think for like people that are into Catholicism, I might be wrong, but I feel like the issue is a balance between not too divine, not like overstressing the divine part of Jesus or overstressing the human part of Jesus, but having them in like both full bloom.
Right. Yeah, it's like 100% of both.
Right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I think like the way that I'm assuming if like a obvious fucking like Neo-Platonic, you know, thinker like Wolfe was trying to reconcile those things about like why does he act perfect if he's also a human, like why not go the Gnostic route and make him some level of like falling short. I'm guessing that the idea would be like, because man doesn't always have to fall short. Like there's one time that it doesn't happen. Like there's, and I don't know, but that's a guess for me, is that it has to do with balancing the divine and man and not letting one predominate.
Well, I would think that if Severian is supposed to kind of represent like Jesus in a way, and that's my kind of whole take on this book, is that it's like the Bible from the future traveling backwards to us, and that he's like sort of like the Jesus figure in this book that, you know, also inspires like the Bible, which to us is like an old book. But I mean, it seems to me that one thing Gene Wolfe is saying is that like if there was a Jesus person, he probably was really more complicated and had all these thoughts, and you know, wasn't exactly, you know, the Jesus that we understand. If he was a real thing, probably a lot more complicated, and you know.
And the story that he leaves behind is like the thing that gets to us, but the thing that makes that story is not perfection. It's like a wild, tortured road.
The fact that we don't have, you know, I mean, our understanding of Jesus is all external, and it's all about stories that people tell about him. And so, it's, you know, the Severian, the story of Severian that, you know, the people of this world know once he's the autarch is going to be very different from this story.
Right,
because
exactly.
no one in that world even gets to see this story.
Right.
They just get to see like, okay, this great dude made the sun work good.
Yeah. Yeah. This like perfect,
But this
all-knowing
story's in our
guy.
Bible. The Temptation of Christ.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
It's in our Bible.
There are parts of it.
Right.
As a child listening in church, I was under the impression that Jesus kind of talked to everybody like Jesus was a big jerk. It always seemed to me that like when he was talking to people, he was an ass. And my mother, who is totally Catholic, she one time told me about the one episode in the Bible where Jesus is 12. She was like, and if I was Jesus' mother, I would have slapped him right then.
Or what is he?
Yeah.
What does he do? Do you remember at all?
They go to the synagogue, and then
Oh,
the rest of the family leaves, and then they're like, "Where the hell did Jesus go?"
He's like, I was in my father's house.
Yeah, and it's like he stayed back to talk back to the teachers, and my mom was like, "Yeah, if that was my kid."
Get back to the wood shop.
He was rooting around looking for somebody possessed so he could like cast the demons out.
I think he was just trying to make the elders feel inferior, maybe. Like go in and be like, I know more about this than you do.
But going back to that passage you were talking about, Ryan, I feel like it is relevant because it also brings up that question of why the claw works for some people and not for others. And so Severian like experiences that frustration just on the page before that, where he's like trying to bring little Severian back, and it's like it's not working. But it did work for the other kid. What's his name? Jasper.
Yeah.
I almost feel like in that episode, it works in reverse. Because he's like, oh, and then the body just. I mean, I know that he just got fried, but bodies don't completely turn to ash.
Well, this switched it forward.
What if the little Severian, like you were saying he'd go back in time and become the saved Severian? Mm-hmm. What if he goes back in time and becomes that saved little kid? What if there's like a loop there? Like when he's saving that
Jader.
Yeah, maybe when he saves Jader, he's pulling a part of himself out of the future and giving it to him.
That is a cool idea. Mm. Jen will be sad that she missed it.
I'm listening.
She can hear.
Alas, poor Jen.
She'll never know. A great point. She can't hear us.
Because then like
we could say anything we want about her right now.
But I think even
You can
if
always say anything you want about her.
even if there's not like a metaphysical like Severian becomes Jader sort of thing, or like Severian becomes Severian or whatever. The fact that he's saying, like, one miracle failing doesn't mean that the rest of them didn't happen. It's like that clause in your lease where like if one thing gets broken, it doesn't necessarily mean that the landlord is like that the lease is void. like if your landlord like fucks one thing up, you're still like bound by all of the other rules of the lease.
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of like, he's like, look, miracles happen.
Right.
Just because this one didn't happen doesn't mean that they don't happen.
It's an interesting take on a miracle maker too. It's like sometimes miracles happen when I try to make it. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes they happen when I don't even recognize that I'm doing it.
And that's an interesting take on like the whole Jesus trope, that Jesus might have, we don't know the story, it's been like, yeah, I'll try to bring this kid back, and then it didn't work. It's like, sorry.
Damn it.
It worked last week, I swear.
Yeah.
My bad,
Gospel
yo.
of the mistakes of Jesus.
The miracle juice just wasn't flowing this
I
time.
would love that. It was just a gospel of Jesus' fuck ups.
Trying to do stuff. That would be awesome.
And that
You guys-
day Jesus was tired and fucked up.
What if the reason Jesus is such a goody-goody is because a couple times miracles don't work and he's like, it's my fault. I'm not good enough. I've got to, like maybe a Japanese kid would do.
Go on.
Oh, no.
Like in Japan.
Don't
in
go
Japan.
on. No.
No, go on.
You're going to dig a hole. Stop it.
No, I feel like there's
Tell us about the Japanese children.
there's like intense guilt about letting down other people.
Right,
Like
right.
like if you're not there to like hold up the community, then like it's like you have personally failed.
Oh, like Bushido, that's who commits seppuku.
That happens in American culture also. That's how I feel all the time.
Right. But I feel like their art is very explicit about it.
In
Like,
Japan.
Yeah, there's a lot of Japanese art that's like really explicit about being feeling that weight of like, I know it's wrong to let people down. It's fucking impossible to live this way, but it would also be just selfish not to. So it is wrong, and like being caught in that.
Yeah. So I'll just kill myself. That's what Japanese people do.
Yeah, Japanese people
Occasionally.
love killing themselves.
Only the
By working
Highest
too hard.
suicide rate. We either Japan or Ireland, I forget, but
Oh, really? Ireland? I didn't
No
know they were
shit.
up
I
there.
didn't know that.
yeah, they're both
Such
pretty
a
high.
jovial people.
US
Anyway,
law.
write in if you think it's sketchy to talk about other cultures as if they're different than ours. I don't know. I mean, I guess there's just one thing and it's normal. And it's, I don't know.
Well, you know that sometimes people say things about other cultures that are fucked up.
Well, but you can't oversteer like off the road by saying, well, there's one good thing that everyone is. That's good. And
Japanese children are probably somewhat different.
like cultures should be different from it. There should be characters that are different across the world. I would think. I would
There
hope.
should be.
Yeah. And like whatever. There's
You should make a website about it.
I don't know. I feel
Voted
like
hard.
I've seen some-
www.what?
I've seen some
He's
stuff when
saying
people,
what's on his
where people
mind.
are
Dot com.
like in another country maybe, and like they're not allowed
Ryan
to go
at saying
to
what's
a
on my
place,
mind.
and they're like, this is not good. Do better. About like perhaps like in Japan, you're not allowed to go. Like if you're, if you're one of the barbarians from our country, and you go to Japan, there's certain places you're not allowed to go. And like there's be certain clubs that maybe that would be like, no, we don't have foreigners in here. And like as a foreigner to go there and be like, do better, this is not right, you know, like to try to like, I don't know, I feel like it's like trying to make all the countries the same, and it's not okay.
I don't quite follow what
I
you're
don't
saying.
understand what you're saying.
Anyway.
I'm just saying that you can do cultural imperialism with like a righteous angle of like,
Yeah, for sure.
right.
Societies definitely change the people within them. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a person in a Japanese society has a different, they're drawing from different places
Right.
than a person who, you know, grew up around here.
Like they never had Puritans, so they're not weird about sex in the same way we are.
They're
weird about sex in a
in
completely
totally
different way.
Yeah.
Wondered about
but-
sex. What are you talking about?
I'm just steering
yeah.
clear of this
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just
let's
like
just-
I don't understand why it's like such a like why people are running for cover when I'm like in another culture they have a different.
Do you know what's happening in our culture
Well,
right now?
I feel like the thing about it is that like it's hard. I find it hard to. I have no problem like making generalizations about the culture that I grew up in, but like
Yeah.
it's just hard to. I don't know.
I don't. But what's the other? So what's the default position that you're resting in by not making generalizations about like some aspects of, for instance, Japanese culture or like Russian or Mexican? You know, like I feel
I
like
just want to say that me being worried about what you're gonna say about culture before I hear you say it doesn't mean that I'm like trying to steal your ability to do it. It's just that you're bringing up something that is definitely going to be potentially dangerous, and I'm preparing myself for that.
That's yeah. I think it's just you run a risk when you start making generalizations about like how the psychology of a particular culture works, especially when you're not a part of that culture.
all right.
I get to be nervous about what you're saying. You don't.
I mean,
have to
like
let
I'm
that
not
affect
even
you.
saying that you're wrong necessarily. It's just like that. I think that's the sort of edge. that's the edgy feeling.
Well,
that,
it's
that it puts us
like
on.
if
It's
you
where it's
start
like, wait a
talking
minute.
about the experience of being a woman in society, I'm gonna like. there's,
Get
like-
literal.
Get literal.
You're gonna get literal. You're gonna be like, you can't talk about that because you're not literally a woman.
Well, sort of, yeah.
Huh.
Or like you can't really fully understand the experience.
Right.
Well, now I'm scared of where we're going.
That's
Either
what you should
way,
be.
I mean, we could talk about this, but maybe it's getting a little off track.
It is getting.
I think
I don't
it's
mean to cut it
off
off. I mean, I derailed the whole thing last week, and I feel bad about that.
track. I feel like that was particularly relevant.
It made me shake. I
Wow.
went home and shook.
Oh yeah, did you watch it?
No, I didn't. What happened? What the hell did I miss?
There was a thing
The
going
last
on.
half hour was popping.
Oh yeah.
What?
I feel like
I'll just watch. Or you
Even
can tell me
Caleb
what
was
happened.
like texting about it. No, well, you should watch it.
what did
'cause
Caleb
otherwise
say?
We
we're gonna
just started going down like, but wait, and then we got to just like the lowest level.
It was like the legitimacy or illegitimacy of like narrative as a thing, basically.
I'll have to block up some time for shaking.
I think we should get back to the book, and my segue will be a funny thing that Caleb texted me, and it says typhon emoji and an equal sign, and then there's just two faces.
He did that on the chat too.
Oh, okay.
I feel like one should be evil and one should be dumb, right?
Well,
Yeah, one
I
of them
feel
should
like
have
It's not the
Nothing
same
to do
face
with it.
twice.
One of them
It is
should
the
be
same face
It needs
twice.
to be two different faces.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
One
it's
should be
funny
blonde.
because it's two heads.
Right. But
I think it's okay.
It's cute.
oh, and speaking of the two heads, has everyone seen the old BBC Hitchhiker's Guide?
Yes,
to the
I
Galaxy?
thought Beetle
Yeah.
rocked.
Yeah,
That was
I-
the fucking first thing.
Yeah, I was.
Me too. Me too.
Wait, with
There's a two-headed guy or
definitely.
what?
So-
Yeah, in the
Okay.
old-
Yeah, people bro.
Zaphod has like a David Bowie kind of side, right? And then what's the other side? The other side is also kind of like dumb.
Well, like
The other head?
on that show, the special effects are so bad
yeah.
that it's just like a horribly unrealistic head that has one line in the whole fucking series.
But in the
Oh.
book, does it?
I
talk?
yeah. well,
in the book, they're
in the
In the book they're equal.
in the book
Okay,
they're not
gotcha.
really like separate personalities. Like
Gotcha,
it's just Zaphod, and he just has two heads.
So everybody
Okay,
says
got
that name so interesting.
but the, yeah,
Zaphod, how do you
Three
say? it?
different
Zaphod
ways
is
to
how I
say
always
you
say
gotta
it.
watch a
Zaphod, I
clip
say
of the
Zaphod,
first
you say
BBC
something.
No, I've seen
video.
it. I know
Oh,
exactly
man.
what
I
you're
know.
talking about.
It's so horrible.
I've only
Like,
read
as a
it.
child-
Okay,
no,
all right. There's literally 4 conversations going on, and none of them have to do with the book.
Well,
It's not
Far
a
Beagle
book.
Brox is a two-headed also character from a similar time period.
Is a
relevant. I thought about it.
megalomaniacal
I have no problem-
space ruler.
I
Also.
have no problem with that being mentioned. I'm just trying to be aware of the fact that there were so many conversations going on that if someone was
You're right.
ever trying
You're
to
right.
watch
It's
this,
not
it
good.
would be
Not good TV.
unintelligible and not.
Sorry,
Sorry.
thousands of viewers.
They can pause and rewind.
The kids watching at home.
It was also giving me anxiety. I think
A little bit. Yeah.
I need more coffee, maybe.
That should help.
That'll help you.
There you go.
I
knew
want to try
would-
this wheat
You
onion
guys,
that
I knew
found?
that I would like the coffee more if I brought my own mug.
Whoa, who brought that weed onion here?
I found it.
Huh.
You found it?
Onion.
It's like a
This.
balm.
Oh.
Like rub it on your.
It's cool.
Yeah, some yuppie actor left it here.
Yeah. I'll
It's
use
good. It
some
gives you
of
like a
You
mentholated
do want
weed feeling on your
Sure,
muscle.
Yeah, it's like a
Um,
tiger balm.
You give me a hit of that.
So
Yeah,
early.
pass it around.
Everybody help
Take
yourself.
a
This
hit
is
of that.
sanitary.
So not sanitary.
Actor person.
Yeah, we found this jar of cream. Everybody rub it on themselves.
All right. Let's,
So
I don't have any open wounds. It's okay.
so earlier. Wait. Oh, what were
Oh,
you
wait,
saying?
so
well, I wanted to go back to page 135.
Okay.
Was your
135.
thing before that?
Just the page after, so it's fine.
It was after.
Yeah.
Okay. I just really liked the part where he's talking about time being
Like a fence.
like a
Oh,
fence
yeah.
that the river passes
Yeah,
through.
that's
I thought
awesome.
that was really cool.
Just solid writing right
Time
there.
itself is a thing, so it seems to me, that stands solidly like a fence of iron palings with its endless row of years, and we flow past like Gyal on our way to a sea from which we shall return only as rain.
Yeah.
That is tight.
Mhm.
The rain
Yeah.
returning as rain thing is tight. And then it says, I knew then on the arm of that giant figure the ambition to conquer time, an ambition beside which the desire of the distant suns is only the lust of some petty feathered chieftain to subjugate some other tribe. And that's him setting up Typhon being a chump.
but it is also, he talks about 3 different versions of himself there. He conquers time. He
And
is
the
the
feathered
distant sun,
chieftain.
and as Apu Punchao,
Yeah.
he is a feathered. It's all there.
Yeah.
Layers.
Les. Les.
Thanks, Mary Berry.
Okay, so that's all. I just wanted
R.I.P.
to not skip
Mary
that.
Berry.
But you wanted to go where
No, but
you
she's
want
not
to
on the
go.
show.
Yeah. I mean, I'm ready to move on to the
Typhon.
next chapter.
This chapter rules.
I think the third paragraph has a ton to unpack. Like the third, like the one that begins with like several times down there under the stars, and like if you go down to like halfway through that, he's talking about like how Dorcas
Right.
felt about Jolenta.
After such thoughts, the memory of his death would come to my mind as night had come to the mountain, a wave of blackness and despair. I knew then how Dorcas had felt when Jolenta died, which is such a weird, like, you never,
It's
like,
there's-
no, Dorcas never talks about Jolenta.
Right. There's so much to unpack here. Wait,
yeah.
do you mind if I just read
Yeah, go-
that?
yeah, go
with
for
the,
it.
With just the mindset, what I'm looking at is like how much there is like new information and also just like contrasting information here. So he's talking like, I knew then Dorcas had felt when Jolenta died. There had been no sexual play between me, the boy and me. Thanks for clarifying. That's normally what someone would say in that situation. As I believe,
Different cultures of different times.
as
had different thoughts
I
about fucking
believe
kids.
there had at some time been between Dorcas and Jolenta, okay, but then it had never been their fleshly love that had aroused my jealousy. She talks about jealousy there. The depth of my feeling for the boy had been as great as Dorcas's for Jolenta, okay, surely. And surely greater far than Jolenta's for Dorcas. If Dorcas had known of it, she would have been as jealous as I had sometimes been. So you were jealous, I thought. If only she had loved me as I had loved her.
I don't think that he denies being jealous.
So
Because he wasn't jealous of that.
He was.
so he wasn't jealous about their love, their fleshly love.
He was jealous because he had an idea that Dorcas had any interest in anyone but him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's a fucking...
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, she didn't love me like I love her. It's like, dude, yeah,
And then
you don't
he's
even love her.
claiming that she didn't love him as he loved her,
Which he
but she
clearly
loved
does
him.
much
He's
more.
right, because he does a
Way
great
more.
job of loving, and she does a great job.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So he's just saying, oh, like if only she had loved me as I had loved her.
He abandoned
in
her.
a shitty way.
He
Is that what he's
abandoned
saying?
I mean, I don't think he's saying that,
Yeah, okay.
but I'm saying it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, it's impossible he's saying that.
That's maybe.
Wow. I thought that blew my mind when I read it. I was like, what the hell is this guy talking about?
Yeah, I can't think of one like actual interaction that we see between Dorcas and Jolenta.
Do they hook
Like-
up?
Well, I mean, they're in the play together. They after when Jolenta's melting, Dorcas does act compassionate
does,
towards
yeah.
her.
Right. That's true.
She is
They've
sad
been
about
traveling
it.
together. I think they probably
Well,
have
also-
a weird
I
friendship.
mean, I'm sure there's more
Well,
to it than we
also,
see.
Jolenta does have that like constructed like magnetism thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's-
Where it's
she's
just like
parents
everyone's
everyone's
just
got
like,
a boner
"Whoa."
for her.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
maybe
not
they did. Maybe
it's
they
not
did.
impossible to believe that Dorcas would also have been
Drawn in.
Well, even
subject to that.
regardless of that, I don't think that the concept of them doing that is weird, and like maybe very well they could have done that. But I don't think that Severian has like you know what I mean? I think this is definitely, no matter what else happened, this is him being like a dumb creep.
It's also such
Oh yeah, well
it's
he's
such a
just
weird
he's
thing
saying
to think about.
he is just saying he isn't saying like it happened. He's like I'm pretty sure it happened.
Yeah, in the context of this little boy.
Yeah,
too,
this
it's
little
such a
this
weird
little
take
kid
on
just
it.
died. He was unable to revive him,
And he's thinking about
and then
his
he's like
ex-fucking-
thinking about his grandma and Jolenta
Well, he's also
boning down.
And they'll
he's
fucking-
also like only he's also like only gives a shit about anyone if he's boned them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dorcas gave a shit about Jolenta. They must have boned. And then he's like, I never boned this kid.
But I liked him.
But that
How I cared about it.
Exactly.
And he's
That
trying to like
makes me wonder
figure it out.
if-
But I liked him.
He's trying to figure
Fuck him.
Yeah.
Well, I thought we were pretty I thought we short of deciding anything for sure. I think I was under the understanding that we all feel like it's more likely than not that was the case when we've talked about this in the past.
Yeah.
And that could be why he specifically mentions it.
Yeah.
Because he's like, to him it might not be
To
like,
me,
we
that's-
didn't do it. It
To
could be
me,
like,
that's
we didn't do it.
that to me that's clear. It means like
Mhm.
there is sex between boys and men that has happened in his life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know,
Greek.
if not
Yeah.
him, then
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
but
they-
probably him.
thinking about
probably. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if not him,
He is
then.
apparently handsome.
Right. Well, there's the. I mean,
That
there's the whole
helps.
screen-
According to
And he was like a teacher's pet, sort of.
Yeah.
Well, and that was a big like the Phaedrus, which is Plato's dialogue on education in a lot of ways, which is like has a lot of really interesting and important stuff about like sort of pedagogy and stuff. Is also about why you should fuck your students, pretty
Right.
much. Like Phaedrus is.
And that's where school gets you.
Yeah, right. So Phaedrus is basically like Socrates, like young boy. That it's like obvious, like it's not subtext or anything. It's just like this is what this relationship is like, and so it seemed like I
Which
don't
still
know.
happens a lot more than people talk about.
Yeah, obviously, but I think
I read Florida newspapers.
well, I mean, it happens at the top levels of like
Academia.
academia
Yeah.
too. So I think that those are usually less like pedagogically motivated sexual encounters. But there's like
Well,
this,
there some of them are motivated by. Some, if not most of them, are motivated in some way by power dynamics. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ends up being more about power dynamics. This whole like Greek like
But that could
teacher.
be part of pedagogy.
Right, because
Right.
there's also this thing where it's like in academia the professors are not supposed to be questioned.
Right.
And that's a power dynamic. And then the kind of like sexual subjugation kind of thing can be a tool of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like they play into each other. They're
Yeah,
not in a
yeah.
vacuum.
They do, but though I think like the Platonic ideal of it is that this like student teacher relationship is actually like this very kind of like pure and loving like relationship. Whereas like the Greek framing of like ephebophilia is essentially like this is like kind of the real deal, and then like your relationships with women are only ever going to like come they're never going to come close to like meeting the closeness and like the love of a man and his boy. So which
well, is that perspective coming from the man or the boy?
That's definitely coming from the man.
Because that is
Who was
still,
once the boy.
Right.
But
Who was once the boy.
Right,
yeah.
but that's still a power dynamic, and that's I mean,
Right,
you know.
right.
Well,
that's-
that's like this is a more interesting like postmodern take on the educational power structures of ancient Greece,
Right.
which I think is valid and probably worth thinking about. But
Yeah, I think it's definitely subtextually there. Like reading those early chapters, I remember just getting the vibe through this reading that was like going on.
Right.
It's never meant. It's not really mentioned, but
there seems to be less of.
But Catholicism is like implicit in this
Loaded.
whole thing.
Yeah,
and,
Which also
yeah, for sure.
and I mean, we talked about this when we talked about this before, but I mean, it's also just all dudes. It's a building full of all dudes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Some of
like
them are
people are
teens.
fucking boning in
Yeah.
that building.
Yeah, they're not all going to.
Oh, like in the army.
Like on
Yes.
submarines,
Like
yeah.
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 So now we come to the question: did Severian fuck Severian?
He does.
Do
He
we
does
believe-
seem to go out of his way to say that he didn't, and he is a known liar.
There's no
And
evidence in the
is
text.
Severian?
Did he have him for long
Severian?
enough to fuck him?
So did he fuck himself?
Is
There we
the
go.
And is that wrong?
is the thing that saved him that it was Severian? Like, if his name was anything else, maybe he would have fucked him. But the fact that it was Severian, maybe that's why he didn't.
Oh yeah, maybe there.
Maybe that was the only one he couldn't fuck was himself.
So
The only one.
So you think Severian doesn't masturbate? He seems like someone who probably should masturbate. And doesn't.
If he doesn't, then he should. Yes.
Maybe
It could clarify some things for him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just being sensitive.
I'm having a. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
we did just skip over Typhon masturbating really fast, didn't we?
No, we're not there
we
yet.
haven't got there
No.
yet.
No.
Let's move forward.
No, that's the next
And it's
chapter.
PA time doing it, right?
Yeah, it does seem that way.
But the hand part, cause
Yes,
so
because
he would be
it's,
able,
a boner is
But
involuntary,
he would be able
right?
to
But the
control
hand.
the boner.
But that's like
But is Typhon
I
jerking
think-
it off?
No, they're both. It's yes. That's
That's what I
yeah.
thought.
Oh, that
Typhon's
seemed
jerking off
that seemed
the
like an
boner.
idol groping to
Okay,
me.
maybe.
Which does have.
But-
But
Okay,
is it involuntary when your hand touches your dick? Like, can you not make it stop?
Well, you never just like hang out and touch your junk.
I'm actually.
Wait, was that a
playing
question?
my-
Not in a sexual way. Just like
No, I
sometimes you
do, but I'm. But
Yeah,
I'm,
kind of constantly when no one's around.
Yeah, if
But
no
I-
one's around, your hands
right,
gonna
but
be in your
people are
pants.
around right now. Can you not stop
Right,
it
but
when that happens?
but Pieton doesn't have like a
You
sense
don't
of
have to
propriety.
But
or
it's
anything.
weird
Okay.
because Typhon
Okay.
controls the rest of his body. How come he's not controlling his hand in that moment?
Because I think it's
Or-
an idol. I think it's an unconscious physical
Okay,
act.
this is my question. Okay, that was my
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
If-
I think it's
Pieton
just
is basically lobotomized.
Okay.
right. I think it's just Pieton kind of just like whatever. Like,
But
I've got
so
a boner.
Pieton is the one who's kind of just idly jerking off right now.
I
But
don't even
Typhon
think
is
it's
the
really
one
jerking
walking
It's
off.
the
around.
body. It's
Just
the
touching,
body.
just touching
Yeah.
himself, whatever. He's
Right.
the one fondling himself. Like,
Yeah.
he's servicing himself. I think that's what he says, right?
Okay, what about this? What about so Pieton's
He
the
nursed
one.
with one hand.
Pieton's the one that has given the boner.
Nurse.
He
That's
nursed
what
with
it
one
is.
hand.
But
It's in yeah.
Maybe the hand is Typhon, and we're in a situation like when
Big
Mark,
dick energy.
no, well, yeah, kind of, but also the kind of like I'm basically alone energy of like the times that you would just kind of be idly like mashing your crotch. I feel like our times when you're-
Mashing. Now we're mashing.
Yeah. Like mashing it or whatever you do. You know, your preferred like. The time when you're doing that, it's like you're alone reading this book like on the couch and for whatever. Like it's hot. Like
Yeah.
you're taking.
Paint a picture, Ryan.
Okay, so it's like kind of hot. You gotta like move your sack off your thigh anyway. So you're kind of down there frequently as it is, and then you're just. No one's around. You're just mashing on it for no particular reason.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
I'm
not
sure
even.
this is going somewhere.
sort of
right?
It's not even
no, this is just.
It's like stretching a muscle or something.
It's not even necessarily
Yeah.
sexual. It's
Yeah.
just it's just like
Something to do.
the sort of idle bodily function.
Yeah.
I
So I
understand
can see.
that.
His reaction is stress.
So Typhon, even if Typhon's controlling the hand, he might be the one mashing the boner just because he's like so unconcerned with who the fuck is looking at him.
That's
Right.
true.
That
That
he's
is definitely.
So Typhon
And he's
would be
clearly
that
been
kind of-
alone for a
That's
very
what-
long
yes,
time.
yeah.
And he thinks that he's better than everybody else.
Right.
yeah, like I could
He's
pick
like, yeah,
my
watch me
nose
jerk
in
off.
front of a.
Please.
Yeah, I was kind of
He's like
thinking about it more
Lucy
like that, where he's like, check this out, look how many guys get
Check out this
You
weird.
haven't used
You ever
this
seen
in
a
a
two-headed
while.
monster
Like,
jerk off?
He picked that body for its strength, but he must have also considered.
He
dick
picked it
size.
for its dick size.
He must
He just wait. You said PH
Well,
was
I
not
know
the
that.
biggest of his,
Yeah.
but he was the
Okay,
strongest.
wait, okay.
That's a very good point.
So okay,
Very
Gene
we
Wolfe
we
booklet.
we've skipped the whole
Vastly.
At this point, because everyone just wants to talk about boners so bad.
Yes.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Monster
to move on.
boners.
We've
You wanna talk
skipped.
about boners.
I'm
We've
ready to
skipped
move on.
the whole meeting. We've skipped like their whole initial conversation. We skipped the
Okay.
flyer. We've skipped all that. We've gone to the building because we want to talk about the boner. But let's like.
No, wait. This is on track, right? Or am I?
No,
wrong?
we
That
did
was
skip.
there in
We
the
skipped
building.
Okay, got it.
25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Done.
Yes. I thought that was on 25. My bad.
Thank you.
I do want to talk about the flyer thing. Like, what is that? Just why are they okay? It's like an elevator, right?
Yeah.
It's like some sort of like
It's like a hover
elevator that's not
hover
attached to
elevator
anything.
thing.
Electromagnetic or something.
Why are they laying down in it?
I think because of
Why
the
do you crawl into it and lay down?
'Cause
Wouldn't
maybe
you
it's
just
so
walk
fast.
onto
if
it?
it's
You're gonna
moving,
fly
yeah,
out.
if it's moving really fast, then you wouldn't want to be upright for it because that would like. you could,
Okay. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
at some point
Makes sense.
they're in. I would think at some point they're in like a tunnel or something. You know, like they go inside to
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the same way our elevators like could be a lot bigger and less claustrophobic, but it's just efficient to have them be kind of a small little chamber.
Well, I'll go like, what if a bird flies in your face? Like Fabio.
Oh.
Are they outside
No.
of this thing, or going
Well,
through
they
the
go
tube?
It's
inside.
open air.
It's open now.
I thought. I was in the
He,
It's open air,
um,
but they are inside.
he was
Like, they're
doing
inside
something.
the-
Well, they're outside.
No, I was
and
thinking of Kevin
inside both.
Sorbo,
Like, at
who was
some
making
point they
weird
go-
Trump
Oh.
supporting
I have a hard
tweets.
time visualizing.
I guess it's
It's
described like a boat.
Patreon or something.
Yeah,
I
added
just pictured it
every.
as a
What- for
boat,
what?
and and you just
Just
gotta
for
stay
being-
below the
yeah.
dome so that a bird doesn't fly in your face. And that's what I think they mean. That's what I always thought.
Or like
they
tree
meant.
branches or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Or,
Not
you,
like
or
but-
you falling out.
Oh,
You know,
because
like,
it's just
you're
moving.
standing
Wait,
Yeah,
where-
there's a tremendous wind. You
Yeah.
just hear, whoa.
It'd be like standing.
You're not supposed to stand up on a boat.
That's right. You're supposed to duck walk.
That's right.
Cool.
I mean, like a small boat, not a. You'd stand up on a big boat.
When I was
Ryan,
on
would you
the
get
ship,
me
I
some
duck walked
coffee?
the whole week.
When you, oh, just a small amount.
Really?
Yep.
I was on a
No,
boat.
not really.
I was on a boat yesterday.
Okay, wait. Okay. So they go into the mountain that is shaped like Typhon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So at
Mount Rushmore.
some point, and they're in a, when they end, they're in a big chamber that's carved out of the inside of the mountain.
Oh, is that what you meant by inside?
Yeah, so like at some
I thought you meant
point,
it
there's
didn't.
like, in my mind, at some point, they're in a tunnel that goes through to get into there, which is probably a very enclosed place, is all I'm saying. Like, there's also,
agree.
yeah.
You don't want to hollow out too much of the mountain, if, you know. Stuff
Well,
falling
I
out.
was thinking about like the pyramids, how they've done all those scans, how there's like the kind of like old,
Excuse me.
there's like the old passageways that go to like the chambers and the inside. That's what I was like picturing when I was thinking about this.
Yeah, like a cross section of a pyramid.
Yeah, like the way they do those, whatever,
Shafts.
the scans,
Oh.
when they scan them and they have
Predator
those, like,
vision.
It's
Thermographic.
sonar stuff, right?
Yeah, whatever they're doing, sonar or whatever it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
sonar. It's not heat.
Sonar.
What?
Heat?
Thermographic.
Radar.
Well, no, because
No,
they're
but
trying
they're
to
doing,
find
like,
like
density of-
hollow cavities.
Yeah.
They don't get lucky.
Anyway,
I'm not a scientist.
I don't know. I'm not clear exactly what this thing is like and how it's moving. I mean,
He's got an incredibly like Skeletor
It's a
or like
hoverboat.
Cobra Commander hideout here in the back of his own face.
yeah. But I mean, in terms of like they go on this ship, he describes it as like going downward, which I think he even says he's also confused about. Like it feels like it's like flying down.
Oh, that's the
But-
G-force. I think.
It's pulling him.
Oh yeah, he's feeling pushed. Well, I don't know, 'cause it's going up so fast.
I think
No, he's just going forward so fast.
Okay.
Like gravity is pushing him.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
G's, he's feeling the G's.
Okay.
I think that's what
Yeah.
Top Gun.
Boys say.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Top Gun.
Cool. Yeah.
Never seen Top Gun.
Yeah, because it says
It won the Oscar
it
2
plunged
years in a
into
row.
the dark.
For what?
Really?
Because the next year they were like, "There's no
Yeah,
movie
it was
as
Top
good as this. We're gonna
You're
give it
full
Top
of
Gun."
shit.
Everybody agreed.
Wait, that didn't happen.
Wait, you can
I
wait.
think the inside thing is we thought that you were saying there's like.
I didn't think it even won one. Don't, I saw that.
The ship is open.
So they're laying in an open ship,
Uh-huh.
and it's literally it is kind of going forward and up. Is that where it's going, towards this head through the tunnel? Is that what's going on here?
It goes down and then it goes up.
It goes okay. So
It
it's
goes
like,
in, it goes down, and then it goes up.
Yeah,
okay.
you know.
I think of it as I think of it as sort of like a. I always visualize it as sort of like a small, like a fucking double wide canoe or something, like a
That's what
small
I
little
pictured.
like
Yeah.
a small boat
Yeah.
basically that floats.
A bogie.
It's
A little boaty.
It's interesting.
A dinghy.
A dinghy.
Which
Pretty much
brings us
all of
back
the
to
awards
Buffy.
that Top Gun got were for the soundtrack.
Nice.
Because it was Giorgio Moroder and Take My Breath Away.
And then
Is Danger Zone in that one?
No, but I mean, it got best soundtracks and stuff. But then also, it got the award of the Japanese Academy gave it the best foreign language film in 1988.
Hell yeah.
Top Gun?
Top Gun
In Japan?
in Japan.
All right.
I feel like the Japanese get down with Top Gun.
Hell yeah.
I like Top Gun. I know I'm not supposed to, but I do.
Why are you not supposed
It's a hop,
to?
skip, and a jump from
Why are you
being
not supposed to?
Evangelion.
Is it Scientology?
It was sort of a
No,
jingo
Tony,
and
what's
stick,
his name is
like-
a jerk. The director's a jerk.
Of Top Gun?
I've never seen Top Gun.
Who is it? Don Simpson?
No, it's who made Alien? Ridley Scott's brother, Tony Scott.
Tony Scott.
Tony.
Ridley Scott's brother.
Oh my god.
Tony
a-
Scott's dead.
A shithead
Yeah.
brother
Yeah.
would be named Tony.
Wait, what?
A shithead brother would be named Tony.
That's probably true.
This is my shithead brother Tony.
Yeah.
Tony.
All right, sorry.
We made
I
Top
did
Gun.
full derailment with Top
Fucking
Gun.
Tony.
So we're in the head. Let's talk about the fucking dude.
Tony.
Which dude?
Fucking
Enough of the
Tony
boat.
Nobody.
Let's talk about the dude.
Typhon.
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 The whole
So afraid to talk about Titan.
the first line where he's like, I see you as well as crypt as I am. What's your friend's name? That is fucking hard.
Wait, say it again?
I can see you. I see you are well equipped as I am. What's your friend's name?
Oh,
That's like spaghetti western villain
Totally.
entrance.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Well, yeah,
I
he
mean-
is kind of like a
Boss.
yeah, in a like kind of a cliche way. You
I mean,
know, he's like
Typhon puts on a show. Typhon.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, what do
yeah,
you
yeah,
got there?
Exactly.
Yeah. He purposefully is talking like he's in a comic book or something.
Yeah.
I am.
A little bit Trumpy.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited to see him again. I love this
Typhon?
character. Yeah, I'm glad we will.
This person only has one head, but I always think of Typhon as the king from Katamari. Like, he just always is in my head
Totally.
like that.
Yeah, and his tense belittling after
Yeah.
he struggled so hard to play that freaking game.
Yeah. he's
And to
always,
clean
like,
up his fuck up,
Yes.
especially. That's the,
like putting his crotch in your face and stuff.
yeah.
He does that?
No, it's
He's
that
sort
attitude.
of like, yeah, he's like, hello, you know, right, he's like muscly. He wears clothes. For some reason, I like did kind of picture him naked, not with like his dick out, but like, you know, he does
Naked,
wear
but
like,
with his dick still obscured.
you know, like,
Tied around his leg with a
like just like a one-colored body or something.
Right,
That's just
yeah.
like an action figure. But I looked him up. He actually does wear clothes, specific clothes.
That's good.
But that's who I picture.
Typhon.
Oh man. I wish we
I
could
love
say that
I love Pieton.
I feel
Really?
Yeah.
I
Pieton
think
is
that
great.
he's like one of the
Is he just, like-
major unsung heroes.
Do you think his consciousness is fully still intact and he's just trapped?
Well, it is because
next to
he's
this psycho?
communicating with Severian.
Right, how he
he's-
can't use the
he's
voice. It's like a
asking to
flute.
be
Yeah.
Yeah, he's saying kill me
Right.
over and over.
Yeah,
Very
I mean,
It's
whole
fucking
time.
tight.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like
It's a horror
Master
movie.
Blaster, but a lot more of a.
There's that one old
Master
episode of the
Blaster.
X-Files where the guy has like a twin.
Oh,
and the
yeah.
twin is like separating and
Uncle.
going, right?
Also,
Yes. Okay.
Also, okay, so this is Typhon talking about it. He says, he's talking about like okay, so I just needed a new body. My body was on its way on. I needed a new one.
Yeah.
So my doctors talked to them, and they were like, well, we could just put your brain into a new body.
He's like,
But
no,
that
my,
doesn't work.
Yeah.
my beautiful
Because of the
face.
The face!
The face.
My
yes.
brand.
And then
Which is
exactly.
interesting because he
and-
saess it's the face that people are most, what does he say, like,
Busted.
Like they
Used to
obey
follow
or
me
something, right? Yeah.
Interesting.
Typhon is a branding genius.
And then, so he says,
The face.
he says, yeah, should have taken the original head off first, but it seemed like it would be easier if we did it this way, because then eventually
Sort of like-
all the functions would move over to the new brain and the new head, and then we could just chop the old one off. But then this part he says, well, Sirian says, but something went wrong, and then he says, mostly it was a matter of time. The terrible vigor of his voice, which had been unrelenting, now seemed to wane. Piatin was one of my slaves, not the largest but the strongest of all. We tested them, which probably means a lot of people died.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No doubt.
That's
yeah.
like the subtext of that. It never occurred to me that someone with his strength might be strong too in holding to the action of the heart, which is
Yes.
that's like the one point where Typhon is admitting that he's not all powerful, or that's like
Well,
the
he's surprised
the
to
big
find
problem with the situation is that he's not. Yeah.
what, somebody else could have will over their own body?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. Exactly.
So did anyone else like get a class allegory out of Typhon and his body?
Sure.
And his death too? Like I felt like there's a crazy, like I started to see it as like Typhon is like a horrible parasitic, power-hungry like aristocracy who rules by technology and then becomes like literally parasitic on one of his slaves after killing off like weaker slaves, and like only the strong one is left. He like grafts himself onto the body to use the strength of that slave to continue living, and then eventually he's undone by that dependency.
Yes.
But if you keep going with the allegory, it almost, I feel like it's like the lesson there is that like by destroying the poor, you can destroy the rich that
Yeah.
require them.
Well,
I
that,
think
it's
that
a,
the poor has to send a secret message to foreign powers to overthrow our government. I'm not saying that.
Or it could be a more abstract idea that like once the wealthy or whatever the upper classes graft themselves onto the lower classes, then they are inextricably linked.
well, they always have
Well,
been.
yeah, they always have been. So like
The fallacy
that, like-
is that they're not.
right.
The self fallacy as a ruling class person is that you don't, like, the people are expendable.
Right. Yeah. So then like ultimately like the upper class will die with the lower class, but it's not necessarily. I feel like this isn't like a prescription for dealing with like an aristocracy.
Right.
So much as like a I don't know like an abstraction of like this sort of like dynamic understanding the dynamic.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
dynamic there.
It
Yeah, he's like literally a parasite. Yeah,
I had never
of the lower
considered the
class.
idea of destroying the aristocracy by destroying the poor, but this, I think it's kind of a neat idea.
Well, let's try.
It's more that the aristocracy will destroy itself by
Consumption.
sheer neglect of and like the refusal to accept the fact
Yeah.
that like
Right.
they depend on
Right.
Yeah, because
And
he
I-
wasn't even
Extraction
thinking of
of-
Phaeton's head.
That's a huge part of like information warfare right now. I feel like to the extent that you believe in information warfare. I, for the record, don't believe that Russia is trying to hack our democracy or anything. But to the extent that foreign powers,
Any more than they always have been, and we have always
Right,
been
to
doing
well,
that.
right. It's
to the-
I mean,
to
it
the-
always is
to
happening.
the extent that that is a
every-
strategy, I feel like that is what it is. It's just to like undermine like the people underneath the power.
Yeah, it's
Don't
not-
go for the leaders.
It's
Just
not
just
like
break
the
down the
top
society.
thing everyone thinks
It's the
it is.
society
Some
that's
people
crumbling.
are like,
Yeah. Without the society, the rest will fall apart.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening right
Also,
now.
it seems like we've been in this place. I mean, at least since like I don't know the last 10 years when the subprime thing happened, where there's like the aristocracy wants to see how far they can push people into deprivation. like how much they can get away with, and they get away with it every time, and then they go a little bit more austerity. Like we can push them a little bit further.
Yeah.
And that seems like it's maybe reaching this point you're talking about where like
You reach a breaking point where they destroy themselves by destroying everyone else.
Yeah, because
Well, and climate change is like it's like, well, we're just gonna destroy the whole planet and all of humanity, not just our society.
Well, I mean, we got like Bezos and Elon Musk. They'll get out.
destroy our planet or cleanse
They
it,
could
I
just
think.
live in space by
Become
themselves.
positive.
Wait till we get to lungs.
Yeah, exactly. They
I don't
become.
think the other venture capitalists are going to let Elon come at this point. I think they're going to be like, Elon, no, sorry, we used up all the space. Like you'll have to sleep on the floor.
Yeah. Maybe
He'll
Joe
be
Rogan
typing,
has a
he
spaceship.
stays
You get on
behind
that
and
one.
gets desiccated on the little.
They'll tell Elon they're leaving at 11:30 and they left at 11.
And then Elon's desiccated on the drying rack.
Oh wait, sorry to keep going down this route, but remember at the end of Doctor
I love this sidetrack.
Remember at the end of Doctor
Thank you.
Strangelove when they're like, we'll just go down to the center of the Earth after the nuclear apocalypse. And they're like, we can't do that. That's going to suck. And they'll be like, but we'll bring down, the most attractive women with us. And then all the leaders are like, actually, this sounds pretty good. And that's what's going to be when they go off to, like when Bezos and Elon Musk go off to Mars or whatever. They're just going to bring like 10 supermodels and just ditch the rest of the people.
You don't gotta bring them. You can grow them in vats.
Or whatever they do. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you need
Anyway.
source material.
They're not going to bring the rest, like humanity.
And a real one would
Don't give
become a
shit
symbol
about
of
that.
prestige.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Or probably would be the one that runs the harem of all the vat grown.
But so even the whole
Ones.
so it happens. this dynamic happens with is the micro with Typhon and Peaton, but then also the next paragraph is the actual happening on the large scale where he's like, we fucked up, the science was off, we thought we had all this time. I mean, it's like pretty interesting. It's like we thought we had more time than we did, and then everything was fucked, and I didn't get my shit together in time to get off this hellhole planet that I fucking destroyed.
Yeah, he's the one that fucked up the sun, right? He's the one who
he
put a black hole in the middle
he
of the
fucked
sun?
up the sun, and he says my astronomers had told me that the sun's activity would decay slowly. Far too slowly, in fact, for the change to be noticeable in a human lifetime. They were wrong. The heat of the world declined by nearly 2 parts in 1,000 over a few years, then stabilized, crops failed, and there were famines and riots. I should have left then.
It's all there.
So that is what we're heading towards now.
Yeah.
But
All we need is a black hole in the middle of the sun. Thank God we had that Large Hadron Collider.
well, we
Or
don't
just a hole in our atmosphere.
need we
Okay,
have
too.
a different ecological catastrophe that's
We have
Sure, I mean, just to be
we
true.
have a black hole in our heart or mind or whatever, like won't let us pull back on technology. Like, we're like ever gonna lean harder and harder into it. And like even the work, like as it makes everything, not just the environment, but like people's lives worse and worse.
yeah.
We will never go back. I feel like that's our black hole that we put in the sun.
Certainly.
Nice.
Feed the beast.
Sucking us.
I want
Yeah, I
to.
wonder how long it was going to take for us to start singing.
I want to talk about the
Sound,
end. No, you didn't talk about this while I was in the bathroom. The end of that chapter, 140 at the bottom.
Where he just is like, you're the conciliator.
I love this.
What's
He
okay?
just straight up drops that.
Well, okay, so he's like the conciliator, and and then as soon as Severian says it, he's like, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that." And then it's like, "Yes, that was one of his names. Like, do you know where he is now? He's been dead for a while, and yet he remains, I think." And then Severian is freaked out, and then he looks down at the claw to make sure it's not glowing. Is Severian starting to think at this point that he's the conciliator? Because he hasn't revealed that yet.
I think he's starting to feel that vibe. I
Is
mean,
he?
it's,
Oh,
yeah,
I
it's-
don't think that we necessarily
that's-
see that in this episode.
That's what I'm getting right there.
I
Like,
think
why
that
is he
this is the
self-conscious
moment when
about
he
it?
finds out. I
Well,
think this is
no,
the breaking
because
point.
no,
for him.
well, okay. I'm not sure about that. I'm just gonna side with Connor on this.
Yeah.
That the thing is the claw of the conciliator,
Yeah.
Right.
and he's talking about the conciliator, and he's
Right.
like,
Okay.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, is it showing? Does this guy think I'm the conciliator?
Yeah, he
because
thinks-
my secret is showing?
Okay, so he doesn't actually.
or
think
like
is.
he wants
just-
this thing.
He's
Maybe
afraid
he
of
wants
that.
this thing, and he knows that I have it
Okay.
somehow. or whatever.
Okay.
But I think Typhon knows that he's the conciliator.
I think.
Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah.
being in opposition
Oh,
to
yeah,
Typhon,
right.
being
And he
able to
knows he has to
stand and
fly.
oppose him makes anyone the conciliator. And I think
Yeah,
Typhon
he
sees
does. He
anyone that
wants
is
it.
maybe a threat to him as the conciliator. I think like that's what that.
And that's
thing
why he
is.
wants to be like, you'll rule Earth while I'm gone. See, I'll give you this cool position, but I'll still be in charge.
Right.
Yeah.
So Typhon doesn't just see Severian as some wanderer, but
And he
more of
knows-
a intentional,
he
like, oh, the
kind of-
conciliators come for me.
He
Yeah,
must
I think
know
anyone-
that Severian's powerful enough, which is why he's not just trying to like. I guess he is trying to. Is he actually trying to kill him in here, or is he trying to fuck with him?
Typhon seems to be just trying to
Oh yeah,
make him a
Typhon's
subject.
Yeah.
anti-new son.
Right. So that's why he's trying to like.
He has to
doesn't
subjugate.
Severian.
But it's more subjugate than kill.
Yeah, he
everyone
needs to
must be
subjugate him.
subjugated,
Yeah,
for
he needs
him
to
be
subjugate
Typhon.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The subjugation scene is interesting too when we get there.
It's cool.
Like where he tries to like trick Severian, and Severian actually feels himself in like a presence of a
Mind
spell, kind of like
trap.
a decuman
Yeah.
spell. Yeah.
A spell today
And
we
then it
call
hangs him out the
contracts.
window like Suge Knight
We
style.
call what?
Contracts. the contract.
You ever read Changeling the Dreaming?
Oh yeah.
All the spells are contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, I've been buying a lot of White Wolf supplements lately. It's kind of bad.
Let's talk about that after.
That is kind of bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, Tim. Okay.
Anyway,
so-
yeah, contracts.
so-
Contractual language is that spell that's being
Yeah.
cast on him.
Yeah. Okay. And so the argument here is that Severian doesn't actually think he's the conciliator. He does have an object of the conciliator, but it doesn't actually.
Right.
Yeah, I think. Well, although
Well, he
there-
doesn't necessarily. Get
Yeah,
I
or
think he's
not
getting some vibes.
he's
I
still-
think he's getting some weird vibes.
Yeah, because he
has
still
that-
feels like the claw is not like the thing that is doing like because he said I can't find it now, but the part where he's like Typhon's like, oh, like you said it doesn't do anything anyway, like why just let me have it.
Yeah.
And I think Severian's like definitely feels like this thing is important, but it is maybe not the thing that's making the shit happen, or he's starting to feel that way. I don't know. It at least
He's questioning it.
Right.
Hasn't he been questioning it a little bit?
I think he's still. I think for him, it's still like a lot of the like new son attention that he's getting. I think he still is directing to the claw and saying like, this is why people are interested in me. This is why a bunch of statues are facing me, like
Yeah.
shit like that. But it seems like he's starting to get an idea that the claw isn't everything.
Yeah.
But then there's also, I mean, I haven't worked on this enough to be able to really create an argument, but like, it's always interesting to think about, like, is this Severian in that moment talking, or is this Severian the author who knows that he's the conciliator talking? Like, is
Right.
it, which Severian knows what?
I think that Typhon, the way that he works is that he will subjugate anyone he sees, because his identity requires him to be like the supreme over all. And that if you resist him, like he will destroy you. And if you're still there, then like the more that you resist or the more that you refuse his contract or the more that you're like not doing what he wants to do, the closer you get to being the conciliator. You know, that like anyone who can oppose him, who can even be in his presence opposing him, is that threat to him, that the conciliator is.
This is in Typhon's mind?
Yeah, I think that's how Typhon's brain works. That's how he like the conciliator will be anyone who's not instantly converted or like destroyed by his like supremacy. That like you can like any old idiot, for instance Severian, in the right position would become the conciliator to Typhon because he would be a threat to Typhon.
How much are we allowed to talk about book 5 right now?
I think
Yeah,
we're
go
allowed
for
to
it.
talk about it.
Yeah, do whatever. you
Typhon
want.
knows that Severian is the conciliator.
Yeah, he knows.
Okay.
Typhon's met Severian.
That doesn't
Okay.
contradict what I'm saying though.
So
If
Sure,
if
I
Severian-
just wanted to state that.
If
so that we
Severian,
can
I'm
work
just
with
saying,
that.
why is he the conciliator? That's, I guess, what I'm saying is like Severian is the conciliator because of his relationship with Typhon.
Oh yeah, I don't think that's true. I think that Severian is the conciliator because Severian is Severian.
You think he holds it within himself like Neo from the Matrix?
I think that the Severian writing the story does. I think that there are other Severians, a Severian that died by drowning, a Severian that died in space. There's a lot of Severians that aren't the Severian that is the new sun, but the one that we read is and has always been because he's the Severian that is. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Sure.
a little bit.
I guess I'm just like,
What do you mean when you say that he's the conciliator because of his relationship with Typhon?
I guess so that I'm not sure if this is what you're saying, but I'm getting this idea that like Severian the individual carries conciliatorness as a special quantity within himself that distinguishes him from other people. And I'm trying to like reinterpret this encounter in terms of Severian is not the conciliator because of anything inside him. He's the conciliator despite what's inside him because of the outside things that happen. That like Severian is made the conciliator by the external conditions put on him and not by like a thing he's had, like not like a special thing. Like the claw he's carrying around like it's this special thing, but it's just a fucking glass ball. Like it's not his individuality. It's like what's going on. What
I don't think that Severian earns being the conciliator.
grace. That the conciliator is like grace. You
Well,
can't.
it's sort of like a machination. Like his whole like becoming the conciliator is this like engineered process.
Right,
Which
is,
maybe you
right.
could call it grace, but I don't even.
Oh
know
no,
if it's
but I mean, I feel like that's
necessarily-
more like what I'm talking about. Is like it's externally imposed upon Severian,
Right.
Due to things like this relationship, like his relationship to his guild, the choices he makes with that, like the relationship to Typhon. Like I don't think. I guess what I'm just kind of going further with this idea that Severian's the hope of mankind, and that the hope of mankind isn't like Neo, like the one or whatever. It's like you can't. It's not like that we wait for a special person to be born, and it's that individual who is the hope of mankind. It's like it's mankind in general performing humanely in the kind of situations in which it really matters to be humane.
All of us in some universe is the conciliator.
Right, like the identity of the conciliator is not the important part. It's the beingness of the conciliator.
Well, we're getting into just what I think now, but
Right, that's different. You're talking about like what makes him the conciliator, and you're more just thinking about like parallel universes and things.
I'm also talking about what makes him the conciliator.
Yeah.
In that, like, this is Severian. Okay. I mean, there's thousands of all of us, and the ones that die, and there's some portion of us that are all Jesus Christ. Like there's separate sections of the multiverse where we each are the Christ of that section of universes.
I'm the one.
This one is the one where Severian is.
You're that one.
I think.
Hail.
That's neat. So that's like I feel like that's like an inside-out polytheism. Whereas
Sure.
like, a polytheism would be like everyone has a Jesus inside of them and a Severian inside of them, and every other character that makes sense on paper is inside of you. And then like you pull that inside out, and it's like every universe each one of those characters has their like peak story in some universe. Yeah, that's cool. I feel like that's very visual for me. I can like see those things like one of those little like squishy tubes that go inside
yeah,
out.
those things.
Yeah.
But in this universe, like the one that's being described, like to the extent that we can understand it as one thread. I remember earlier we were saying that Severian is still sort of like a pawn in all of this. Like he's still being groomed, arguably, like to be the conciliator. That like, the autarch is kind of setting him up for this, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like
Sort
the
of
bulk
orchestrated
of
this
this
whole
book
adventure.
is like his ordeal, essentially, like the thing that makes him that. Like,
Are we separating the definition of the conciliator and the new sun? Are we making those the same thing? Like the way this conversation, because the
I'm using
conciliator
them-
is like a point in time, like a specific iteration. The
Sure,
name
right.
conciliator
From the
is a
past.
specific iteration.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just asking if
I
that.
have been
It seems to me
industry.
that they're conflated.
Yeah, we
And
are
I-
conflating them definitely in this
Okay,
conversation.
I'm just
Yeah.
making sure because
Yeah.
there also is the conciliator as a discrete character.
That person who existed
Right.
Yeah.
during Typhon's time.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, like, I'm coming from a Catholic background, and there's Jesus the man, and there's Christ the divinity, and we use them interchangeably, although there are people who argue that they're separate, but like, fuck it, and I feel like that's what's going on now. You're right. But I think that it's fair to just call all Severians.
You're right, but we're not wrong.
I mean, but the
I'm
conciliator is an
not
instance
trying
of
to
the
say
new sign.
anyone's
Right.
wrong.
You're just
I-
clarifying.
It's
I-
just a discrete.
I was
A
using them
hypostasis.
It's a
interchangeably.
discrete
Yeah.
character in the
Right. Yeah.
realm of characters of Jesus Severian.
And I feel like I picked it up
New son.
from Severian. I feel like Severian at points will use them interchangeably, and then at points, like, you'll see that it's more specific.
If you missed on that balm, you're missing out.
Oh yeah, you
It's
want some
good
of the
balm.
balm?
It's good balm.
It's really a thing.
Oh, thank you.
What is it? Why? What do you
Go
makes-
on, describe it.
It's like you like to feel
It feels
relaxed.
very good.
That is true. Yeah, my shoulders are kind of tight.
It's
Do
cool.
you even
My
chill?
shoulders are very tight.
Do you even chill, Tim? I don't.
Not in my playbook.
So the eyes of the world. Are we there now?
Is that a Robert Jordan reference?
I mean, it's also the name of the second
yeah.
book. It's almost the name of the second book of the Dying Earth.
What is the name?
Jack
Oh.
Vance's.
Oh yeah.
book.
What is the
It's
name?
the
of
eyes
that?
of the overworld.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's
Which is-
totally got to be that.
There's
It's
a
probably
Lindsey
that and
Buckingham
not a
song
Robert Jordan
on
reference, most
Mirage.
Called the eyes of the
And the
overworld.
eyes and the eyes and the eyes of the
80s, I
world.
guess. They probably.
I think the song's just called Eyes. It's a really weird fucking song.
I was ready to be like, okay, Dying Earth and this thing, they're kind of related, but this might not be an actual like call to Vance. But then the thing he does to the Hetman is
1990.
fucking Kugel, like exactly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like the hero of the two middle book, like
Is Caleb saying something?
he said a while ago. He actually did something that he found the quote that started the big humongous explosion of last time. Like he found the source of the
Oh,
gigantic discussion. and
Because
he-
Caleb was watching that. Yeah.
Right. He went back, he found the time,
Yeah,
and then
that makes
reproduced the actual quote, like so that I would say it and we could go back onto that entire.
Okay, we're not gonna do
Let
that.
us not.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
We can do it later.
And I think he's moping because he hasn't said anything else since then.
sorry, Caleb.
Yeah,
I can't deal with that right now.
Yeah. And also
It will break my soul.
keep talking because we really like the things you say. And you should
but we're not going to address them.
Yeah.
Oh, I-
We'll make
I
a.
feel like if you are reading what Caleb's saying, you should at least mention it. If you
Okay, that one I didn't mention for obvious reasons.
Yeah, but it's,
Okay.
he's trying to be half in the club.
Yeah, I always like. He always has great
Yeah,
stuff to
that's
say.
awesome. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. So anyway, this is the Eyes of the World. This chapter doesn't really feel very redolent of Vance to me, but the minute he opens his mouth to the Hetman, he is fucking saying like exactly.
Yeah.
He's exactly become Kugel, the hero of the Dying Earth series. That is what Kugel does in every single interaction. Although it's funnier with Kugel because Kugel's not a torturer. He's not in any way intimidating at all.
He's just a dopey kind of.
Yeah, he's kind of like this Larry David of a post-apocalyptic world that
Yeah.
is just excessively polite, but always relentlessly seeking self-advantage over people.
I can only think of him as Steve Coogan because before I read it, you told me that he was.
Steve Coogan would, in fact, be the best person to play.
That's
Kugel.
that's a.
I love Steve Coogan.
And
I had never
he
thought
has
about
expressed
that.
interest in it too.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think that I saw a thing on Wikipedia that he had looked into getting the rights to do.
Oh damn.
To do the middle two Dying Earth books, and it would be so good if he was the guy.
That'd be tight.
Yeah, Kugel is just a total con man who's smarter than some of the people he meets, although they're all pretty smart too, and they're also con men. But he's not as smart as us, and so it's really funny to see a successful con man who's dopier than people. You know.
That's kind of like every noir book is oh, this guy's pretty sharp. He's on his feet, but god damn, he's making terrible choices. He can't see these obvious things that are happening around him. It's always a him.
Yeah.
So.
Eyes of the Overworld, I highly recommend reading it if you haven't. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's good.
It's like a slapstick.
It's like a
kind of
lighter
version
version of this, but mostly a lot of same ideas. Interesting.
Yeah, all deployed in jokes.
It's it's as if we will talk about anything but Typhon.
Well, but this is this is sort of.
I'm saying, why is this it's hard to not see that title as being perhaps a reference to another set of books about a dying Earth.
Oh, totally. I'm just amused by how little we've done.
Out of curiosity, sorry to continue down this,
No, that's
this
okay.
thread. So, in the eyes of the overworld, what are the literal? What's the literal
thing?
They're-
Like, what are the eyes of the overworld?
They're contact
Oh
lenses.
yeah. What is that?
They're contact lenses that allow you to see wherever you are on one plane up. So like the plot of the story that is called, it's like a series of adventures of this one guy, and the Eyes of the Overworld adventure is that he goes to this village where everyone is disgusting. They like have boils and they're like corpulent and they sit on like dirty piles of straw and they eat garbage, but they comport themselves like aristocracy, and like they seem to be talking to each other like these like really rich and like posh people, and Kugel's like, what the fuck is going on here? And eventually he finds that everyone has these two purple contact lenses, and when you have them on, you see everything around you like elevated one dimension up. Like you see like the ideal of everything. So they think they're having this like beautiful feast, and they think everyone around them is like gorgeous and attractive and dressed in beautiful clothes. And they have this whole social system where there's only so many contacts to go around because they used to be on a being from a dimension below us that needed to see our world. So it had these like eye stalks come into our world with the fucking contact lenses on, so that it was able to see in our spectrum of light or whatever. But when humans put them on, or creatures of the dying earth, like advanced whatever they are, humanoid things. They see like a perfect version of everything around them. And people have to like, there's a village of like kind of basically like slaves who are on a list waiting to get a contact when somebody dies. And then Kugel fucks everything up by getting one. So
Interesting.
Yeah, so then there becomes the whole thing. The guy that has the other one wants to get the one from Kugel, and Kugel just wants to get on out of this village, hopefully with like food and anything else he can get with him to assist him on his journey.
Interesting.
It's great. It's very funny.
Okay,
but
all
it
right.
doesn't seem the context.
That's not like a
Yeah.
direct. That's not
Yeah.
a direct thing. I was just
Yeah.
curious if there was a more like
No.
direct analog.
I imagine just the words.
Yeah.
I feel like it probably is like Wolfe is definitely aware of dying Earth, and so
Yeah.
like he's probably
I
making a
guess
little
in a
call
way, the
out.
like hollow, corrupt
Little
nature of
reference.
aristocracy and people who put on airs is similar.
right.
Yeah,
That's
That's
true.
could be a theme there.
Yeah, and like a con man who comes and upsets the fucking balance of those people. That's there, but yeah.
Interesting.
No contact lenses.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about Typhon.
As far as
Typhon looks at the claw and he's just like, hardly impressive. Nah, whatever. And
He
it's
knows what it
Typhon's Typhon's knows that it's not worth anything.
No, he knows.
Does he actually want it?
Yeah, does
He
he,
just-
want it, or he just want to see
He
it?
just wants.
Or is he playing cool, or is
He just wants
He knows
Severian.
what it is, though. He said,
Yeah.
"I
Right.
saw the sacred fire." Like that's a very specific way to call something that you think is. a
yeah,
thing.
earlier, yeah.
And I think his
He
deal
says
is.
it right now.
It seems like he does.
He was
I
watching.
thought-
He
I
saw him take it out. And
Right, when he was
watched it.
down with the when he
Yeah.
was down by the hand. But then he shows it, and then why? He's just like hardly impressive. Like he doesn't like. He's
Because he has to talk like that because he's fucking typing. He's like,
Well, and if he's gonna
Okay.
try to
and,
get it off this
yeah,
guy,
and he wants
you know,
to, yeah,
So
he has
he-
to downplay.
so he does.
He's
Want,
like,
This
you
piece of
just
shit,
said it
I'll
isn't-
give you 50 cents.
he does
Yeah.
want it.
And-
Okay.
Yeah. Well, does he actually want it, or
I
does
don't
he does he just want Severian's sort of fealty?
Is there anything
Both.
that Typhon doesn't want?
Right.
Good point. Yeah. Give me that.
Because he doesn't take it right then. But I guess he's just.
If
Kind
he
of
can
playing
take the
along.
whole man, he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if he takes his fucking rocks, Varian's never gonna be his like.
Yeah.
But
king.
Right. Or maybe
he'll have
Severian
no
needs
goal. Like right now, isn't his
Yeah.
isn't the whole thing pushing him forward ostensibly to give that back?
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, man.
Supposedly.
The oath that he wants Severian to give is ridiculous. It's just, I swear by all this talisman represents that for the food I shall receive. So just to get food, like this is
Right.
the deal.
Well, he knows. That
I
he's-
shall I shall be
he
the
knows that he's starving, and he's like,
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
use this as an
Yeah.
immediate like.
Yeah.
And even Severian foreshadowed that right before by saying like, I literally would have followed any
Right.
person.
Yeah, I
that
would
said
have
they
gone
had food
anywhere.
Right now.
Yeah, he says, so swearing by the everything the talisman represents, and or So in exchange for the food, I shall be the creature of him I know as Typhon evermore, rendering to him all I have and all I shall be, what I own now and what I shall own in days to come, living or dying at his pleasure. Which is like insane. It's so wild that Typhon would be
Typical satanic oath.
I guess so, but he's just like, all right, you want some food? Here's what you gotta say. Repeat after me. And he's
You my bitch.
yeah, just like I'm Typhon's bitch forever. And-
Somebody tweeted this panel from Felix the Cat yesterday that I saw. That was Felix like sitting on a log saying, the person who has to bake a loaf of bread in order to get money to buy a slice is not free.
Felix said this.
Wow.
Yeah, Felix the Cat said that apparently, and that reminds me a lot of this oath.
It's getting deep,
Like
Felix.
the stress on food in here. Like,
Yeah.
this is like an archetypal relationship of power to
For sure.
to
Yeah, that's how.
vulnerable people.
That's like a distillation of
Whenever
how
he was employed
all
as
of
a
our
slave.
lives work.
Yeah,
with-
totally. Yeah, in exchange for our livelihoods, we
Yeah.
get to
We
give ourselves
we
over
exchange
to
fealty to a higher person.
gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not notably, not necessarily everything that we have and everything that we will ever have.
Not
And
necessarily. Yeah.
and or shall
Increasingly,
be.
we're all in debt
I mean,
and always will be in more and more debt.
That's-
and that's everything that we will ever have.
And
That's
more and more
true.
dependent on technology in order to like interact or be involved or like make money.
Right.
That's like that I feel like encroaches more upon everything.
Matt Zealander, and I'm sorry if I'm not supposed to talk about this on the internet,
Damn.
Matt, but Matt Zealander recently got kicked. He got put in Facebook jail, so he can see what's happening on Facebook, but he can't respond to it because he had said something about Hogan or something to somebody.
Like threatening or just
He-
critical.
Something like I think he was calling somebody up or something. Regardless, he could see people asking him, "Hey, come get this scrap metal from me," and couldn't say okay and go
Whoa.
get it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You know that there's that Black Mirror episode where like people just have it in their brain and then you can like block people and then you just don't see them anymore. So it's,
Oh God.
it's like the social media is like
Yeah.
in you, but then the people who are blocked off by the system are invisible to everyone.
I would like to say, fuck Mark Zuckerberg, fuck Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whoever the fuck
Go
started
on.
Google,
Fuck
go
Hogan.
fuck yourself. Even
Yeah, all you hacktivists
Fuck
want to do
Larry
something,
Hogan.
crash the internet.
Who else?
Yeah, take it out.
Yeah. Stop this broadcast now.
And
And like and subscribe, ring that bell.
And our 25-year-old pretentious blatherings with a final note of technological destruction.
And fuck Andrew Yang.
Yeah, sure.
As an extension
Yeah.
of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not
Sorry.
I
has some
tried
good
with
ideas.
him, but
Nope.
good. He has some good ideas.
He's sort of
No.
a mouthpiece for some good ideas that
He's not good.
Yeah,
He's not good.
he's saying somebody else's good idea in a very bad way.
I don't
Yeah.
think that he is
He's
an
repurposed the good
evil
idea, right?
person, but I think
Right.
that he
He
is
represents
bad.
something bad.
Yeah,
But I don't
he's
like-
fucking up.
His
He's
bad.
bad.
It's a good
He's a
idea
bad.
in
He's bad.
service of
Is he-
technocracy, essentially.
Is he like he's one of these people that wants to do UBI like sort of
In a vacuum, and when you're, and he talks about it in a way that's he never connects it with other social programs.
Yeah, basically.
Which
And
is-
when asked, when somebody said, "How are you going to do this?" He was like, what?" That was his answer.
I don't know.
How are
that
you gonna
much,
do
but is he
it?
setting
Yeah,
up
he
like
just
a
bought
What do you mean?
company
Like,
store
Like, how do
sharecropper
you
system?
afford
Is that what
giving
he's going with that?
everyone $1,000?
Oh, he just
Like,
says we're gonna.
you
No,
cut
he
all
just
other
no.
social
He
programs and
no
you
no.
just give
Well,
them
that's
money.
what he
Right.
says
Yeah.
in response to that is that he's gonna tax or somehow otherwise extract it from
Right.
tech companies.
Right.
But he doesn't have a plan to do that.
Right.
But in-
I'm just
And he
saying that
won't. And
his
he won't.
immediate-
And he won't do it.
His immediate reaction when asked that first in the debates was to say, what? And he was able to go on
He's
and
not.
say that.
Yeah, he's not. He's not good.
But he
Anyway.
wants like a sharecropper system, right? Where basically like you'll be given money so that you have money to spend to make us rich.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, UBI is not a bad thing. It's in a system of other things, in a big social package.
Right.
UBI on its own is strictly so that people don't riot in the streets. And he even has like said that. I listened to an interview with him
Yeah.
where I was like, I'm gonna listen to this. I'm gonna give him I'm gonna let him explain his positions. And
That's what.
he,
I mean, the current
and-
welfare system was created mostly for that. I mean, for social
Well, it's like
good,
it's like
supposedly.
yeah, it's like what's the
To stop
least we can
people-
give people,
right, so
where
that
they
you don't
won't
riot.
literally like
And now you see-
overthrow
now
their
you see
stock.
that
Just don't
deconstructed.
want any guillotines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The thing is, if everyone got, what was it? These
$1,000 a month.
Like rent would go up $1,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like immediately, if there's
It
especially if
doesn't.
there's
Yeah,
no-
I mean,
if it's not connected to other
it's
things.
not good by
Yeah.
itself.
Right.
It's not a. It's anyway. Whatever.
And you know what prices would go down? It would be like fucking heroin.
Yeah.
That price would drop if everyone had $1,000.
Right.
Um.
But he is identifying a problem. I mean, the way that when I've heard him talk about it, it's that like more wealth is being created now, but it's not being distributed properly, which is
Yeah, but
is a
but
problem.
we need to
And
make
the old
profits.
way the old way our economy worked is that people work jobs and then that paid them to sustain themselves, but that is being pulled out from the lower classes right now, and it's going to progressively get worse in the next decade or so. Like, there's going to be less and less jobs. So he's just thinking like, how do we redistribute this?
It's
this wealth?
it doesn't change anything.
I don't think that.
systemic.
I think that's
It's a
like
shell
a.
game.
I think.
Yeah.
Right. No. Yeah. I mean, it's not great.
I don't.
It is a problem.
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to address that problem. I think the problem that he's trying to address is or the problem that he sets up is like automation is going to take a lot of jobs away.
Yeah.
He can't talk about it in
currently
a
taking
social
Yeah.
he can't talk about it in a social context.
He wants to get out ahead of it so the current game can keep being played.
Yeah, he's a
Kicking that can.
he's a
Kicking the
conservative.
can.
Yeah, it was Silicon Valley.
That's
Silicon
Yeah.
Valley libertarian.
Yeah, it's just they're still capitalists.
Not
right.
I know. Although
Connor,
I
I've
still
always
do,
thought of you as a
although
Silicon Valley
I
libertarian.
although I still really do feel the need to have a conversation about that.
He's not really a libertarian in the way that he says that.
Okay.
He doesn't know what the word
Well,
means. I know.
we're gonna talk about calmer than you are. Calmer than you are. Calmer than you are.
We should have a separate political podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that later. Wow, you guys, you know that like we still are in the section that we were supposed to talk about last meeting.
Whoa!
No.
Yeah, we are. We
No.
were supposed to talk about Typhon last time.
We just
No, I think we just exited.
just got
yeah.
that. Eyes of the world is.
But we haven't really talked about.
I
this
mean,
chapter.
I will say that it's more important to have a thorough conversation than to go at any kind of pace. And I think we can get through as much as we get through and pick up where we left off.
Maybe we just slow down, as we get more comfortable with each other. We're just, our
Two
conversations,
chapters at a time.
our conversations are just
People
going
are
into
going-
different territories.
People are going for swift determinations. They can go read Mark Aramedes.
This is a meandering sort of
Which I didn't want to
interpretation.
do.
I
Yeah.
don't.
But it is good.
How are
to
you going to do it
keep
without
going forward.
without giving money to that publisher?
Yeah, you should download a PDF of it.
I
Pirate.
usually do PDFs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, that would require that somebody is cared enough about that book to scan it in and make a PDF.
Well,
Oh, I wouldn't worry about
Mark
that.
Aramini cares enough about the book.
I wouldn't worry about that because those types of people. Anyway, no.
Now,
But
generalizations
would they
again.
steal straight from
The
their
nation of
friend
nerd.
Marcel?
No, mostly I just mean like everyone who's into these books is an extreme nerd, no matter what angle you come at them from.
True.
Yeah.
So someone is gonna.
Except us, we're cool.
Yeah, goes without saying.
Everyone
Yeah.
who's gonna read that book is gonna be an extreme nerd.
Yeah.
Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Regardless of their angle. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not worried about somebody archiving that as a PDF. It's gonna fucking happen.
Well, one thing that's not nerdy is the fucking final scene of this chapter where he
Wow.
and then kicks him off the edge, like the fucking Rock would do.
Rock's a nerd.
Rock is a nerd. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's,
Severian just kind of hits him
He's not
and
Vin
kills
Diesel.
him in one
he's
blow,
not.
which makes sense. That's what Severian knows how to do.
Yeah.
It's funny how swift and simple it is. and I guess it's taken this long because Severian's kind of been feeling out Typhon the whole time too, even though he was threatened. But he could have did it earlier, I guess.
I mean, it probably took him this long to figure it out, put it all together.
I gotta
No,
say,
This is Severian's job. Like,
Here's a
Severian
question.
knows how to do this.
Here's a question.
But he's never had to kill
Here's a
two-headed guy
question.
before.
Here's a question. When someone's gonna punch you in the face and you like put your hands in front of your
Don't do
face,
that.
that's an instinct move, right? That's an involuntary function. Why do the hands go to Typhon's face? If it's like an involuntary.
Maybe he won the battle of wills.
I think he talks about like Typhon's so fast, which gives me the sense that Typhon has modified his body, like that Typhon may be like a really great fighter because of scientific augmentation of his like, you know, his like weird cyborg self, whatever he is. So it might be possible that Typhon, like because Typhon's so good at fighting, he can be like, I'm gonna block this.
It's voluntary.
and
He's like a trained-
and maybe like the imperative now is like protect Typhon.
Yeah.
Like there's always like protect Typhon, even if it's involuntary, he's still like protecting Typhon.
He's being a little too conscious because he's so like powerful. He's defending the wrong thing. If he was totally unconscious, he maybe would have saved himself. But because he's so
But Pieton is not the same. You know, like he's slow.
Yeah.
So and also is not the priority for what
Pieton-
like the dominant consciousness in that body.
yeah.
Pieton wants to die.
Right.
Yes.
Also,
Yeah.
There is that too.
Like,
yeah.
so
that's true, yeah.
He would not defend his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's looking for it.
Can I just say from like a narrative design perspective, like this whole like these chapters from when he approaches the town and all through Typhon is like so well constructed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Which
fucking
like
rips.
it's not something that we talk about a whole lot in this book club, but just like Gene's sense of craft is like phenomenal.
Do you want to talk
here.
about that for a second?
We can. I mean, just
We
like
don't talk about that
or
enough.
just like you know, I feel like there's sometimes you know books where particularly like genre stuff where you're like, okay, like here's a place and like here's the things in the place and you're kind of just it's like an idle description of the thing, but like everything that's in here like builds to something.
Yeah.
You know, from like seeing the mountains and the statues and the like coming in contact with Typhon's desiccated body, and then the ring where he contemplates trying to like peel some gold off of this ring, and that's what ends up killing little Severian. I don't know. There's just like everything gets set up and paid off in such a like tight, concise way that it's just I don't know. It's hard to pull that off and not make it feel like the whole thing's just being wrote. What the hell was that?
Blue snow.
Oh. But it never feels like we're being railroaded. We're never getting this like okay, well like now I know what's gonna happen, right? Because this is the first time that I've read this book, and so just getting through it, I don't know. I was like, oh wow, like oh that really worked out, and it's
It is a swift.
And the
It's
way
so good.
he ties it all together at the end, you know, where Severian has a clever moment by punching at Pieton is like
right.
just solid adventure.
Yeah, yeah,
storytelling.
but it's all set up in this really great way where
for
like
sure.
Typhon has this whole explanation of
Yeah.
like how the functions of this body work.
Which
Yeah.
don't feel like
Yeah.
we're setting up his weakness at
Right,
all.
right.
Yo,
right.
yeah,
No,
totally
yeah.
not.
Severian
Yeah.
sees it.
But he
It feels-
gives us everything
And then,
to figure it out on our own.
what kills Typhon? It's his self-absorption and his like desire to preserve himself. That's
Right.
what's his undoing in the end because he misses that it's
And that's
it's
like this
Pieton he
whole-
relies on.
like,
It's
these,
the
like-
lower class he
these,
relies
like,
on.
Yeah, he's trying to protect himself and let them.
Yeah, these like four
Yeah.
or five,
awesome.
whatever chapters, like from 23 through 20.
Now, I think everything you're
6.
describing falls apart in the next chapter.
Well, that's like I feel
or
like
it's like a refresca palate cleanser. It's like
Yeah,
because
totally.
On High Paths is all him just having his philosophical thoughts.
right,
Right.
but those like 23 through 26, like those 3 chapters
Yeah.
are like short story, like they function like a short story.
Absolutely, yeah. And it definitely actually has like a Vance-ish vibe to it to me, like where he writes like these little episodes that kind of string together. Like
Yeah,
I do
totally.
kinda like
And I think that just from like a narrative design perspective, it's another like I feel Lagoon.
That's
and like I like most genre writers don't put that much care into how they are kind of structuring their narrative. Lagoon does, and the tightness of these 3 chapters reads like in the same way that a Lagoon short story can kind of manage like all of this like beautiful exposition that you don't realize is exposition, and then pay it off in such a cool way.
Definitely.
So good job, Gene.
Did you read The Telling?
I'm halfway through it. Yeah.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, it's cool.
Caleb says that he said he heard in an interview that Gene Wolfe does 4 or 5 edits or more, and I said like revisions of the whole book, and he said, yeah, I'll try to find it.
I would believe that. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that this
I'm surprised that not everyone does that.
It's
Doesn't everyone?
really careful writing, and that's what it blows me away. Yeah, reading it from like a writing perspective. It's
Yeah.
like so.
you certainly
Well, isn't
only
there a
get to
thing-
this through heavy
So
revision.
tight.
but-
Isn't there a thing where he had to have all of them, or at least like the next 2? Maybe no, he had to have all of them like sketched out in some kind
I think
of way,
he,
right?
I think
like,
he had.
and then it's like at any like before he's gonna release the one book, he has to be at least in the second draft of the next one
I
or
think
something.
he
There's
had
like something
Claw,
I read
I think
where
he
it
had
was
Claw finished when Shadow was published.
Does he talk about that in Castle the Otter? Or was that what the book was called?
yeah, I can't
Like,
remember where it was that I was reading that.
I would love to read more like sort of second-hand sources about like the process of writing this book. Like I wish more. I wish more existed.
I'm curious what kind of like.
And he's so dodgy in
went into
interviews.
it.
Like you get so little information about him. It's such
I
a fucking
mean,
mystery.
he's an engineer, so I'm assuming he planned the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's so many sort of like intuitive things that happen, so many connections that I like don't come from heavy structuring. I like a lot of them feel
They can
very
take a
organic,
sip.
like the kinds of things that you would get to through revising it like 4 or 5 times.
But
and
also
then realize
you-
like, oh, maybe this thing is, you know.
But also, the first book is influenced by the fourth book. Like,
Mhm.
the fourth book has to exist for the first book to exist.
Yeah.
Is that true though? I mean, maybe
Yes.
he's making it up as he goes along. I mean, maybe
No,
he's
Stephen
because
King
there's
style?
so many references in the first book that are.
Like from
That
the
you
title
can't-
of the first chapter.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
The first book can't exist without the fourth book, and that's like one of the funny like time loop things that is this book. Is like the second time you read it, you're like, how did I read it without? You can't read it without having read it.
Yeah.
Like the first
Yeah.
reading isn't a real. I mean, it's like a
Right.
different thing than the actual reading. Like the actual reading comes in the repeated reading.
In an interesting way, the first reading of this book requires faith. You know, you just have to be like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get it. I'll get through anyhow.
Absolutely.
It's okay that I don't
Exactly.
know what this is.
You have to let it wash
Totally.
over you.
Which I think you've said before, like, is really the best way probably to approach every book.
Or
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
That's how I was able to get through Lost. Is just like, oh, I don't know what this is. So I don't. I'm not always trying to
Yeah.
think over it. You know.
Yeah,
Just
I
like,
think-
I'm going to accept this on its terms.
The biggest, like, I don't think I necessarily had any, like, boundaries or, like, nothing really got in my way from enjoying the book, but if anything had, it would be that I knew some things about the book, some events, or some, like, mysteries or questions that people have about it before, and I read it the first time, yes, having in mind that I'm just going to read it and not worry about it, but also being like, but in the back of my mind, you're like, but I'm gonna figure out like what this is before, like, I even, you know. But you're not going to. You're just not. And of course, not reading the book, you would think that, oh yeah, I can read it and like figure stuff out. Like, no, you just can't.
Which is how Severian would be.
Yeah.
Exactly like, yeah, everyone else.
No, totally. I would like people who read this like 3 times and they didn't get it, but for whatever reason, I think that I can like figure. Oh, I know that he like says hi to somebody, so I'm gonna like really like think about every conversation he has or whatever.
One thing I really like on High Paths 147, if as is often said, the world is ordered to some plan. whether one formed prior to its creation or one derived during the billion aeons of its existence by the inexorable logic of order and growth makes no difference. That, that right there is really cool.
But then all things must be both the miniature representation of higher glories and the enhanced depiction of small matters.
Yeah. So they were getting.
So Severian's talking about Gene's process of writing this book?
Yeah, maybe.
I think
he's telling us that it doesn't matter if he planned it out beforehand or he's making it up.
It's as above, so below, all the way.
But
so.
This is a really big claim. Like
Yeah.
he's saying that the purportedly objective idea that is like predominant now, that there is no order or plan or intention to the universe. Like that is, I feel like in our time and Gene's time, is considered to be a neutral, like not controversial idea. And in here he's saying that is also a plan. Like if the universe is impervious to like meaning because it's so random and it's so disinterested in like the human mind, that's also a plan.
Sure. Now we're touching on a question I was thinking really hard about at the bar last night. Is this like linear or cyclical time in this book? Like, does linear time exist in this book, or is it only cyclical time? And then an idea that I've been thinking a lot about of cyclical time is a conservative thing, and that linear time is a liberal thing.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah.
And so, so it just resonates with me.
Well,
that this
the core of
conservative
conservative philosophy is to preserve what we have, and the core of progressive policy is to build towards something new.
Yeah.
Right.
And human, like we can't do anything without both those impulses. We can't eliminate either one of those impulses except to our own detriment.
both kinds of time always exist,
Right.
Because really, time's
Yes.
spiraling. Yeah.
One turn up the screw.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was like one of the first visual images that you gave me when we were doing chronotony of like how you can have linear and cyclical time. It's like
Right.
a screw.
The spiral.
Yeah.
Stephen King would call it the Dark Tower.
The motherfucking fractal.
But this was particularly interesting to read yesterday because in the wake of Epstein, because a lot of online stuff I saw about the death of Epstein was that there was like a contingent of people who were like, all of you conspiracy theorists need to be put in your place. Let me bring like the light of reason into here. Like any kind of meaning you might take out of this is really immature, because the way that things work is that there's like an impenetrable confluence of chance events that have nothing to do with like anyone's machinations, and that's how things happen.
Duh.
All
Yeah.
things.
Right, and that's the latter view in this clause here about like it's still a narrative. That's still an explanation of a system that like gives rise to events, and then also must therefore also give them their meaning. It's just that this system that is currently like predominant is that there is no meaning. That's the truest thing. The furthest away you get from meaning is the closest to truth. So yeah, so I was seeing that sentence echoed on Twitter, like a lot yesterday, and I thought that was resonant, and in some ways perhaps indicative that the universe is in fact highly resonant with meaning.
Sure.
Maybe that's its purpose.
I feel like we could do a whole episode on this chapter. Like this, I mean, and nothing happens in this chapter, but honestly, when I read it the first time, like my feeling was just like come on, I just want I want more story, and I feel like that's barely any story here. It's just sort of like
I want another fist fight with a two-headed tyrant.
Yeah, like I wasn't in the right mindset when I read this through the first time, so I'm curious to hear ideas about it. Like there's so much packed into it.
Yeah, and he dropped some concepts on us that I don't feel like we ever got before, like the Yalem.
Yeah. I was
Right.
just looking at
He
that.
just drops that.
He starts saying some.
Yalem.
Yeah, which I recognize.
I do like the explanation of like the Alzabo though, because that was a question I was having while reading the Alzabo, and then that the Alzabo also has like it, uses the knowledge of the people it eats for its own purposes, but those consciousnesses are still in there, although they're subservient to the Alzabo, which I didn't get from reading that.
I guess like the same paragraph, like the second half of that clause, then in all things there must be both miniature representations of higher glories and the enhanced depiction of smaller matters. Yeah, so he's like doing hermetic wisdom, as above, so below there.
Yeah.
And it's...
And the Sephira, I mean, like each Sephira has the whole tree in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Infinitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's
It's
kind
hologram.
of... It really
Which
is.
the same thing.
It's the basis of all knowledge. Likeness is the base. Like, you can't know anything unless you accept that things can be alike and that things are related. Like, if you make everything in this...
Oh, we had an argument about this before when you were talking about, what were we talking about?
Animals.
Animals,
Animal
yeah.
consciousness.
Animals and people.
Yeah.
What were we saying?
When he was talking about...
Well, I'm always pro-personification.
No,
And I think that it is the path.
Okay.
Animals,
Yeah.
the hawk thing.
Like, I think
Right.
when you start...
Got on there
When
from
you
that.
start putting parts of the universe beyond like empathy and beyond true understanding, then you really undercut all knowledge. Like, you can only compare things. This is how you can know things.
We had this argument already, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
But
Well,
we can have it
Yeah.
again.
but he's doing it here with the Alzabo. Like, how can I understand the Alzabo, and what does the Alzabo mean about everything else? And when you can connect it to smaller and bigger things, like, you can feel like, I don't know, like participating in the Alzabo.
Well, I don't know what I argued last time we had this conversation, but I do think that that is true in Yetzirah. But then there's also like Briatic understanding and Asaya understanding and Atzilith understanding. Like, so there are things there are ways to understand things that aren't necessarily personification. I think that's just what you need for an intellectual understanding. But like, you can just fucking love, you know?
Yeah. I'll feel you on that.
Or you can just like
4 octaves of understanding.
Sure, yeah.
You know what's
Oh,
funny?
that was a much better version of that argument. I liked it much better.
Good thing he's did it again.
I do though.
Refining. It's a process.
I think the thing that made it more contentious before was that we were talking about understanding animals.
Oh, word.
Right. Which I can do because of this.
I just had a
You
really
were
fun
saying
fight
you
with Josh Kelberman one time
you can't
about
animals?
whether or not his cat loved
It
him.
was a big
Uh-huh.
group
Okay.
thing. I don't think
Alright.
To observe anyone
Did he think that his cat did not love him, or
No.
you thought his cat did not love him?
I thought that cats would never feel, like the actual cat, Josh's cat, Foot, would never experience an emotion that we humans would identify as love.
But he would feel cat love.
I mean,
Of course they feel cat love.
A feline
Of course
version
they
of
feel
a
cat
They
love.
feel cat.
yeah, it's just an entirely different emotional landscape that is utterly
Absolutely.
alien to us, and if we were thrust into it with our mind,
We would
we would shatter into
Yeah, see, this is
that.
where you and I part ways.
there's a
We
young
part
adult
ways
book
quite
series
strongly here.
that tells us
Animorphs?
exactly this
Animorphs?
thing. Well, there's that,
Woo!
but also Warriors.
What's that?
It is a book about gangs of cats.
Oh, is
No, what-
Tad Williams right there?
Wait.
I don't think so.
I have something I want to say about what you just said.
Tad Williams.
No, about cats loving.
Cat love.
Oh,
Cat love, because I...
because Conrad loves you.
Yeah. But can you craft a structure of this where, like, my first response is like, my fucking cat does love me.
Of
But
course.
there's the human emotions that are attached to love, and then there's like a resonant frequency
Yeah.
of love.
Right.
Yes.
I think there's
Which I
a
share
lurking
with my
variable.
cat. I do not think that my cat necessarily has the same
Right.
internal experience
Right.
of, or whatever, experiential experience of our love for each other that
It's
I
cat love.
But
It could
Cat
not.
love.
we do like share a very specific
I think
frequency.
I think maybe
Diane, are
there's
we still
a
recording tomorrow?
branch
Yes, okay.
of
Like what time?
sort of
Would you meet at 7?
postmodern
Yeah,
ethics
that's perfect.
Okay. It
that's
should-
care
it should be
ethics, and
Okay,
it's
what are
all
we doing?
about kind
Just,
of understanding
C11.
ethical
Okay,
behavior
very
as an
good.
extension
I have to get to the
of
studio.
the
Text me
kind
about
of
our
care
next
that we
meeting of this.
receive,
Yeah, I will.
both as children and
Goodbye,
as
all.
adults.
Goodbye.
And so I feel like the animal, this kind of like
attachment that an animal will have exists on that care spectrum, because their relationship to you is at least somewhat like parent and child-esque, or you are providing for them. You are providing for them the care that they would receive from a parent, and so that.
Yeah, but care.
But what I'm saying is that kind of care attachment maybe transcends this sort of like human emotional understanding of love, and orients it more on this like actual like actionable treatment between species.
Oh, but there's people who like feed their cat and don't love their cat.
Oh, I've
That's
lived
true.
with people like that.
And
Also-
they're like, my relationship with my cat is not everyone's relationship with their cat.
I wouldn't say care ethics doesn't require that like just it goes far beyond. It's about nurturing. Like it is the nature part of the nature nurture thing.
But nurturing is a human thing and not a feline.
Yo, check it out though.
Yes.
Check it out though. You're putting like you're making human like the bottom, and it's not the bottom. There's something before words.
I'm not putting any value on that.
No, but I'm saying like the human thing is an aspect of something that's before words. Like words are like the concepts that are human are like us grappling with something that is present, and it's present for the cat and for us.
Well, care is like an evolutionary tactic. Like
Yeah.
that's like you have to care for.
But cats do that so incredibly different from us. Cats are solitary beasts.
You've never had a cat, have you?
Yes, I have.
No. Your
I
cat.
took care of Paul.
Your cat. I'm
Yes,
talking about
Paul
your
was
cat.
my
I
cat.
remember Paul.
Yeah.
Where's he now?
He got taken away because it was Alan Resnick brought Paul in and then went on tour. And then halfway through his tour, he was like, Paul's old owner wants him back now. And I was fucking pissed as shit at Alan for giving me a cat and then taking it away.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
Calling you out, Alan.
I mean, whatever.
He'll never
Alan-
watch this.
Yeah, he probably won't. But cats are solitary creatures.
I don't-
Oh God, let me just get this out. The idea, you're right that we care for our cat. You give the cat the care that a parent would give, and how long does a cat's parent care for it? It kicks most of the litter
Yeah.
out and keeps one that it then fucks up. When people are like, "Oh, my cat's so lonely, I'm going to get a second cat for it," those two cats fight constantly because cats hang out.
No.
You have to do a whole special trick. Cats do not want another cat.
Oh my god.
Okay, all right. I think, okay.
Melvin and Josie.
Yeah, you programmed them to get along together. But
Oh no, I did
Melvin
not.
was not.
Melvin programs me. I don't program him.
Well, that's also true. But no, I don't think
It's called
that any
toxoplasmosis.
cat is ever sitting around in a house being like, "I wish there was more cats around."
Oh my god, yes he was.
Okay. Domesticated cats
Different.
are very different
And they're
than
also
wild
fixed.
cats.
They're babies forever. They're fixed. They're not adults.
Yeah.
And we've had this. They've been domesticated before any other.
That's
centuries.
A. That's
Yeah.
A. The part A. And then I do also think that. Oh, I can't do it.
Oh, word. Yeah.
I
I'm
do
sorry, you
also
did
think
explain
that
I think this is the.
cats have domesticated cats at least have distinct like psychology.
So then you think that
And I
Patty
think-
Hearst loved the Symbionese Liberation Army for true?
Yes, I definitely do.
Oh,
Have you heard
I
the
think
tapes?
It's a different thing.
Have you heard the tapes though? The tapes of her.
I don't think that's what love is.
Connor,
No,
you're
no,
saying
if
that
you
cats
listen
have
to
different
her-
psychology than we do.
And I
And
think
so you think, but she's not saying that cats have human psychology because they're domesticated.
it's saying that they have different psychology because they're
Than
domestic.
other cats, than wild cats.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
agree with that.
And-
I'm just saying it's not human.
No,
No,
certainly. I don't
I'm
think
not
anybody's
saying
making that
Yeah,
argument.
Definitely.
But I think.
But I think you're making some generalizations about cats that are that I think there's
That
more
could very well
variation
be.
within the cat
I apologize.
world. I mean, I'm just saying, like, some cats really enjoy being around people. Some cats really don't enjoy being around people. It's
some
not,
people don't enjoy being around people.
Some
All
cats enjoy
cats
being
do
around
not
cats.
have
Some
the
cats
same
don't
emotional
enjoy-
landscape.
some people
just as
only enjoy
all
being around
Japanese
cats.
people do not feel
And
guilty.
so right.
No, but I think
and
that-
wait, and like it when you use words like programming Like you program the cat.
That's not how brains work.
It's just if you like, we are all programming each other right now by being in relation to each other.
Yes.
And in that sense, yes, I've programmed my cat to be the greatest cat that ever lived because I do nothing but like love my cat and
That's
treat
what
him
care-
with like as
that's
much
what care
respect
does.
as possible.
You're good.
And like in that sense, sure, I've programmed my cat to be like socially functional.
That is exactly what I mean.
Yes. And he like is down to be around other animals, other people, whatever.
So-
because he hasn't been like
So this is
preyed upon.
This is
by-
exactly my argument for care ethics. Is that we develop whatever we create the best versions of each other by giving each other care and love and nurturing in that sense. And so the model,
what's happening in current season.
so the model, I'm getting college, you guys. So Nell Noddings is a feminist philosopher. She's writing in this on this kind of since the 80s. And the idea is that the model, instead of taking a sort of like Aristotelian or Platonic model for ethics, where it's this kind of top-down, like approaching an ideal or whatever, and then modifying behavior to meet that, it takes as this sort of like core human ethical model the care that we receive from our parents. Which isn't saying that you can only be an ethical person if you have a parent who is good to you, but it's that it's understanding ethical treatment of each other in the context of this more like feminine ideal. At least in the 80s, that's how she was talking about it. It's like feminine ideal as opposed to a patriarchal ideal of kind of like actively providing care for others. And then that's what you end up getting back in a big way. So like we program each other to be caring by caring for each other.
People instinctively understand.
And that's this like whatever the frequency of love that we feel from a cat that who we say loves us. I think it's that frequency. It's of this like kind of unmitigated care for another thing.
And I think if you have experience with multiple cats, you can see that the same things that would drive a person to be aloof or rude are the exact same conditions that would drive a cat to be rude. Like if people treat you like you're dumb. Like I've been around so many cats where it's like the cat owner doesn't think it's possible to communicate or have understanding with the cat.
Which is not what I'm saying.
No, but it's evidence.
If the cat is bad, it's usually the owner's fault.
Yeah,
it's always the owner's
and
fault.
you can see, if you're like a third party who knows lots of other
Same with
cats,
dogs.
you can see it so easily in people, like you can see a cat who is like, oh, what is he doing now? Oh, cat's so dumb. Like that cat acts dumb all the time because it doesn't think that there's any meaning to its behavior because that's what is like, that's the atmosphere that it's in. Or like cats that are like kept alone all the time and ignored all the time, like by their owner, are going to be totally and they're going to be different about a new cat being introduced to their space than like someone who grew up around other cats. Like it's so much like people that.
I'm glad that the most heated part of this episode is us talking about whether or not cats love us.
We're on the
I feel very strongly about cats.
Oh, I think we all do.
I totally feel strongly about cats. I love cats. Cats feel something towards me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Melvin got weird.
I do not think that cats experience the same thing humans experience.
There's not human love, but there, like you were saying, I think there's a sort of there's a frequency that
there's something
that we
that
rise
is outside
together.
of.
It's just language.
Sure.
It's the language, like we are using language to express things, and cats have a different language to express things. Like people in Japan have a different language than us, but we talk about all the same things.
Right. I also want to say
It's some different things.
about the solitary nature of cats in the wild is that though yes, they're solitary, they have their own thing going on, they still have social rules among cats.
Yeah,
and community.
They have social structures.
They still have a social structure, and a cat by itself isn't going to have that. And so even like my cat, and we used to live with 2 cats, and they didn't love each other, but I think they all miss each other because they still had like their social interactions, they had their rules, they had their territory, they were still interacting with cats.
But you think they miss each other?
Well, like, I think that he misses, I think, using human words for cat feelings, of course, that he misses other cats being around. That he would.
Well, they're social creatures,
Exactly.
and if his only social outlet is through you, that's
Right.
not necessarily bad, but it's
No.
also not. It's not a fully natural
Yeah,
state
and
for a cat.
he wants other people around too, I think, because he's always like very excited when other people come over. Like,
Now I'm worried that we're acting like I'm arguing that cats have no emotions. Cats
No,
definitely have
you were
emotions.
You're saying they're alien, and we're saying they're not alien.
no.
Yeah,
You
I
were
think
just
they
saying
are.
that they're solitary, that they're like, no, this is my, and they are.
Yeah, she's pushing back on a very particular thing that you said.
But
Okay,
I'm
I'll
saying that they
completely
still
concede.
have a social structure and are interacting with other cats.
Sure.
Cats have feelings.
We have very
via-
strong thoughts. We all have very strong
Perhaps not
feelings.
human
There are
feelings.
no such things as cats.
What a twist!
Yeah, I've been keeping that in my pocket for a while.
I just like look it up and I'm like, wait, he's right.
What have I been taking pictures of?
What have I been living with?
Also, cats' personalities change a lot over their lives too,
Totally.
That's very true.
which like makes
Yes. Yes. And also we should keep in mind that I'm grafting a conversation from the past with a lunatic onto this one.
No, that's not fair.
Who were you talking to?
Josh Kelberman,
Oh, right,
with
right.
Dan Deacon observing.
Yes.
So you weren't
In a car where we've been smoking weed constantly for 2 weeks.
Oh man, that sounds intense.
Good setup.
Thank you.
Good setup.
I really feel like I was there.
I feel like maybe this is appropriate since the next chapter of this book is just Severian kind of like
Yeah. That's it. He
navel
set
gazing.
He set us off on this when he was talking about when he started trying to figure out the Alzaba.
Right.
Yeah.
We're doing the same thing with cats.
Yeah.
Are we winding down, or are we still
Well,
like-
I mean,
Tim's like,
it's
I'm ready to
Are we
leave.
trying to get through this chapter? Or are we trying to save some of this chapter for the next time?
Maybe
Time
we.
is now 1:44.
Maybe I kind of want to chew on some of the on high paths because I read it in the middle of this room being a club.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we can return to that and talk
Start
about.
at 27
Yep.
next time.
Let's talk about the Headman's Dinner a little bit since that's a more like stuff happens.
Yeah.
Chapter.
And I think it's a
Why?
little more straightforward.
I don't know. I mean, we had already talked about it a little bit, so I felt like we were kind of revving up for
I'm
it.
loving the Super Saturn Kirby today of like not only curtailing the drawing limits on the kind of non-book related discussion, but now also just being like slow down. There's no reason not to slow, and I'm fucking here for it. Is what I'm saying.
I just feel like there's digressions that are
Gonna happen.
more part of this?
more like
Some that are
You're
like,
being a perfect judge, in my opinion, because you're cutting off the things that are too far away, but then you're also saying you're doing a different kind of cutting off when you're like, we don't have to speed through this so that we can do the real discussion.
well, I mean,
Saturn is her planetary association.
in this group, yes,
Word.
at this moment.
oh,
Does everybody know their planetary associations?
Oh fuck, we can't
Like
get a
Mars.
picture
I
of
always just
Emma
assumed
again, so we
that
can't make
it's
the.
Right. Well, we
I
have
think
days of
I'm
the
right.
week.
because
Right. What were they?
Okay, so we
Ryan
have.
figured
Well, you helped.
them out. I did.
You helped a lot, but it was surprisingly. I thought we would have to discuss it a lot more, and we really didn't have to
maybe we
discuss
should
it at
talk about this now.
all. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
A
So,
little side.
so here we go. Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Oh, we have 7.
Yep. Well, that's why we have to do it. you
God,
know?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love this group.
Yeah.
I never really thought about the fact that we had 7.
Oh, I think about it every time.
I can't, and I'm kind of upset that I hadn't thought about it.
But
Just
does,
saying.
does
I
anyone
just wanna
object
say
to their
So,
assignment?
so the deity.
Well,
so
I
the
wanna-
Can I
deity-
propose that you two switch?
Who?
Just
me and Mark?
Yeah. Your Tuesday, he's Thursday.
I think
For a
that-
second, let's see.
wait,
what
is
that
there a
does.
significance to this?
Oh yeah. I mean, each planet like covers a different, totally different set
Will
of
you just
things.
do? Will
What
you? Will
planet
you
am
do?
I?
Can you just do the rundown real quick of like
Yeah,
how you
let's
came
talk
to that?
Okay, so I'm trying to think of who we started with. I feel like maybe in my head I was starting with, was it Jordan? Yeah.
Oh, I thought we started with Emma. Not that it matters.
No, I don't think. Well,
It's your presentation. I should show.
Yeah. Okay. So, very easy. We've got Connor as Mercury because we're at the Mercury Theater. Connor is in charge of the Mercury Theater. Connor's also a wizard, and a juggler. So
You're a juggler?
We're putting that there.
In a metaphor.
Yeah,
Oh.
a conjurer of scarves.
Like
Jean-Claude.
Mark Tuesday, Mark, that's there. Also, though, I feel like the Mark's energy is one of like no nonsense, getting things done, busting through. Aren't you Aries too?
Yep.
Also, he's an Aries. Like that one just that makes sense to me. I would like to talk about that transposition in a second once we place on these. Jordan, the Moon. Jordan is like very much. I feel like a master of the like the subliminal underneath energies. Like in this group and also especially on Twitter, I feel like Jordan is such a moon on Twitter. Also, when we were playing Dungeon World, Jordan was an archer with a bird companion, like Artemis, Diana thing going on there. Tim is a poet. Tim also, I feel like, has the Tai Chi and the sort of general shining, bright sort of energy that comes. Like,
So wait, I'm Sunday?
Your Sunday.
And what's
yeah.
the planet?
Apollo, sun.
Apollo. Oh, okay. Oh, Sunday. Oh,
The
okay.
sun, yeah. And for me, the biggest one there is
Sunday.
poetry.
My gleaming forehead looks kind of sunlight-ish underneath the lights, so yeah.
Poetry kept bringing you back to me for Sunday.
Yeah.
Because there's times when I was like, well, I'll put about 10 here, and I was like, I was comfortable with that one. Saturn for Kirby, I feel like has a lot to do with like that you are the best at limits, at setting limits of this unruly group. Like you're the one who can successfully like rein everyone in or direct things, which Saturn is like the great rule, like
The linchpin of the group.
yeah, beyond the Thursday kind of rule, which is like broken all the time. You're the even by Thursday, like you are the limit, that the real one. Like
Just to jump in for a second, Saturn is that ending scythe cutting those limits, terminus S.
yeah.
You're our sword.
So I feel like you're the very the positive aspect of Saturn. People, I feel like a lot of people with the planetary stuff, they try to make Saturn like this, I don't know, like runoff for bad things and make it malefic or whatever. But
Saturn's my favorite.
Yeah, the limiter is
I tried to argue that I was Saturn.
right.
Well, I need you, Connor.
Far out.
Well, the thing is that no one can do any of their tasks without all the other people
That's
doing
true,
their
right,
tasks.
sure. Yeah. So Emma
Including
is
that
Venus
task.
Friday. That has, I guess, a lot to do also with her online. Her Twitter persona is like definitely Venus, that's like the energy that people are responding to her there for sure. And on Thursday, I believe was the one who was like, no, we're doing this. Like this convocation is going to happen. Like I feel like I was maybe
Yeah, I think you
the
were.
thing. The
Well, you
mover.
sent the email,
I did. I sent
sent
the
the
email.
which is the
Yeah,
thing.
and I also did bring wine when we were doing it at a wine appropriate hour, like right off the bat. So I feel like those were the main arguments for me as Thursday. I do though like what you're
Thursday.
talking about. I have considered a lot this Tuesday Thursday thing here because Mark definitely does have like Mark would be a better dad than me for sure.
I agree with that. You're more aggressive. He's more.
I am a little more aggressive, and also I am having a consciously Mars year, and we're in Leo now, which is my Mars planet too. So I've been having a lot of Mars stuff. Like this bracelet I found on New Year's Day, which was I made a deal with Mars. I was working on New Year's Eve at the club, and it was like rainy that day, and I made some kind of deal where I said, if it rains again, then I'll make my peace with Mars this year. I'll focus on Mars. Because Mars has always been something that I feel like I've tried to, I've reacted to with disgust. I've hated the Mars impulse in myself.
That's interesting.
And then I feel like things have come and turned around to a point where I'm like, perhaps for the first time in my life, like want to do what you're, like kind of what you're saying is like, you can't throw away any days. Like you can't you've got to have a good relationship with all the days for anything to work, because all the days are working with each other, and like one
Ideally.
bad relationship like has like multiplies throughout this relationship.
I also think that Bad Mars judgment kind of comes from a classical look. Like older Mars is way cooler and has a much more full life than Athenian classical mythology, like where Apollo has taken over and it's like nerds rule, fuck you jocks. I feel like kind of is going on.
That's definitely Tim's energy.
I do agree with that.
I think Tim is a different son than the Athenian Apollo. Athenian Apollo is a fucking ass.
Your new son. It's fair.
Yeah, like I feel like it took a long time for me to be able to see why is there Mars, like, and not just be like, Blackwater, like, U.S. Army Marines and stuff, and all this like imperialist, like, creepy crawly things infecting my idea of Mars, and wanting to be like, wanting to throw that away as far as possible.
Mars is honor.
Yeah, but like Mars predates the state. Mars is way older than the state.
Yes.
Mars had like it's the state that corrupts Mars, and its particular invocation of Mars.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Mars itself. Mars is why we don't starve. You feed yourself because of Mars energy.
Well, everything is only bad because it's corrupted. Yeah. Anything that's bad is only bad because it's been corrupted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For power.
Separated out.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Everything's good when it works together.
Yes.
And when one thing tries to, then it becomes bad.
Have we had a discussion about monotheism and atheism? Have we ever hit that? I feel like we're here at a beautiful place, where that atheism is actually a refinement of monotheism, not in any way in opposition to it. That like polytheism is like a healthy psychology for humans that helps you kind of regardless of the particulars of your time. And then monotheism like is this huge amputation, which is really like expedient for society and an increase in gain of power.
Yes.
And then, it's such a fucking like huge weapon that eventually like can't hold, and it starts monotheizing itself, and then you get atheism. Which is, atheism is really just a very sophisticated monotheism.
Yes.
They behave the same.
Yes.
Exactly the same. And they're
Yes.
both iconoclastic.
Yes.
They're both like atheism is like the really intellectual iconoclasm of monotheism, like stripped of its like distasteful ancient delicacies.
That's why the new atheists are still so dogmatic.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and
we're looking at you, Dawkins.
oh my God, I love Dawkins.
Dawkins is
Dawkins and Neil deGrasse Tyson are gifts to our fucking presents on a silver platter to people like us. And you know what? I'm gonna say Bill Nye wants to be in that club real bad.
Oh no, yeah, totally. Fuck Bill Nye. You're not a scientist. You're on TV, and that's it.
Yeah, they're like.
And you majored in education.
And nobody
does this every time anyone says Bill Nye.
I'm pretty sure that's happened on this show.
It probably has, yeah.
And then did I bring up Beekman? Because Beekman's world rules.
Yeah, Beekman's awesome.
Oh yeah, that was good.
a fantastical approach to science, right? Imaginative approach.
Also trained puppeteer.
And a living cartoon.
He worked with Brennan Puppet for a long time.
Oh, word! I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I went there.
Nye drools, Beekman rules.
You were
Well, I feel like that is like
Yeah, I
a
went
really
to the
good
location.
ending
Yeah.
point for the.
Fuck Bill Nye! All
No,
right.
just the like. I really liked how that whole thing.
No, that's great.
So am I Tuesday now?
I've
It
definitely.
was just a proposal.
I don't know, but I mean, I don't want to be the one who decides.
I feel like you're.
Everyone is everything at certain times.
It's true, but when we do the
Then I'm
credits,
Wednesday, which has changed.
I will say that right now I'm not
That's all
living
I'm
my
doing.
best Mars self, but I'm glad that you are. So you can have Tuesday.
It had to
if you
happen.
need it. I would like
we're
to
also
be.
both women.
I feel like I would like to be that Mars ideal, but I have a hard time accessing it these days.
I've started
Marker
making these new
of
credit
boundaries
sequence,
because
which I'm
Hermes
keep trying to take
cross.
pictures
We
for.
worked
But
together.
now I can't do
Yeah,
again.
we do.
'Cause Emma has-
The last pictures didn't work.
we
They
no
weren't
one,
great.
we were all like really
Wouldn't want
sweaty.
to.
No one was
Yeah.
dressed right. The pictures weren't super sharp. Like if you can see them, we
Yeah,
should take
but
them.
not.
I did not come here ready to have my picture taken.
Yeah.
Should we decide the next next meeting and
Yeah,
then,
that's
and
what
then
we
make
should
do.
these,
Okay.
not make these people listen to the rest of our.
Goodbye.
No, they,
Symmetrical-
we're
They
gonna
need to
they
know when
need
the
to know
one-
when it's gonna be.
They
What-
want to
what-
know what it's going to be. Is
What's
it
he
too
saying?
late?
Wow.
Oh, who's Caleb too? He's like that, like he's some floating.
He's the outsider. He's the fucking outsider. Because he just said there's a symmetrical table. That's why I can't join. And I was like, wait a second. He's behind the camera.
Yeah.
He's the fucking outsider.
Oh,
The anti-Connor.
Huh?
The anti-Connor.
That's weird.
Well, now.
Come now.
All right, when we want to do this? Again?
I'm literally good for any day that isn't September 7th.
Wow.
Because
That's a Saturday.
and next weekend. but you guys
I'm
aren't
good
going
for the
next week.
1st. Does the 1st work for people?
Of September. Yeah,
Or is that too soon?
that's not too soon.
No.
For me, at least.
1,
No,
2, 3.
no, 3 weeks is not
Especially
too
if
soon. I would
our
do
goal
two-
is to only get to the end of this chapter.
I would, is the 25th off the table?
The 25th of August.
Yeah.
I could do the 25th.
That's 2 weeks from now.
The space is open.
Yes.
Is that
Sure.
too? I mean,
I
I
think-
feel like 2 weeks is always what I want to happen, and we never can do
Yeah.
that because
That's true.
because we always have to push it for some reason. But if we can do 2 weeks, I find that the ideal.
Okay.
But
I think it's
What we're
long-
saying, the 25th?
I think as long as it's on the table, we can do it. We should when we can, because so often we can't do it. So I'm so close.
Yeah.
usually can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you have a
Yeah.
problem,
No, I don't actually.
But I'm
No,
going
I
to
think that's good.
wait to read until 1 week before anyway. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like if we can.
so 25th
Yeah.
at 10:30.
Let's do it.
And we'll just finish with
Hell
that.
yeah. I like my life more when it's every 2 weeks because it's more
Yeah.
more of it.
Yeah.
It really helps me.
I
This
want
is-
more.
It really helps me in
Yeah,
my
it's the best part of
day-to-day
my
life.
It's insane how opposite of effort this feels to do this thing.
I want to do it every fucking day.
It's
Yeah,
great.
I would.
If
I
only
would do it
school
every
could
day.
have figured this out.
Friday agrees to the 25th.
Yes.
Let's do it.
We've all signed off on it. Now.
And are we just reading the rest of the book?
Oh yeah, how far are we going?
I feel
guess
like at
read
this
the rest of
point
the
we
book.
should read the rest of the book and we'll
See-
see how far we get
Yeah, we should just read the rest of the book every meeting.
We got
until we get to the end of the book. Yeah.
we got through less book this time than we did last time.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, but we got through so much more shit.
Yeah.
We
Okay,
also gotta
so
consider like every
we can,
time
t-
we
we
do it, we
can
have to
stop
talk
that
about
thing now,
everything.
right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The 25th at 10:30.
25th,
at 11.
10th or
Wait,
11. You know.
If we're meeting more often, should we read less? Is that?
I think that would be smart.